Welcome to What Not to Do. I'm Kyle Schmitz, and this is episode 24. You know what? His first son is a competitive cup stacker. Second son is a flag rugby terror. Furry son contributes to domestic entropy, and his wife is a nurse practitioner and sage. But Mark Cumicek, you know what he does? He builds dreams. You're going to love this episode. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, you want to know why? Well, I'll tell you why. My why is to use my presence and my prose to inspire you to go all in on you so that you live a legacy worth leaving. Again, to use my presence and my prose to inspire you to go all in on you so that you live a legacy worth leaving. And I want to inspire 1 billion people to live a legacy worth leaving by 2030. That's 10 years. That's 100 million people per year. So let's go. Join me in this mission to help equip the world for success and inspire 1 billion people to live a legacy worth leaving. All right. So Copper State, we're rocking the upper room. We headed north upstairs. I've got Mark Cumicek with me. Am I pronouncing that right?
Cumicek, you got it.
Awesome. Man, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, funny enough, Mark and I was it with Justin Seidel?
I don't remember who you were meeting with.
Who was I sitting down with? Maybe I've got Justin on the mind because that's whose episode released today, which is so fun. But anyway, I was doing what I do at Copper State, and lo and behold, Mark was a table over. And we were going to... he was going to try to snag me. Got a phone call, couldn't, was intrigued by the conversation, heard the questions, and then I think you reached out to me on LinkedIn?
Yes, because I went back home then after I left here, back in my home office, and went to LinkedIn, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, a contact of mine liked your post from the podcast that morning.
I can't get away from it.
Yeah, I can't. There's something that's telling me I should reach out to this guy.
Well, man, I'm glad you did. I'm so pumped. I'm so pumped to hear your story, to get to know you. And I think it's fun because, like, you and I, we haven't even talked aside from a few LinkedIn messages. Mm-hmm. And that's some of just, like, what I call Kyle style. I just love this. Like, sometimes I know a lot of folks do podcasts where they get all the questions in advance. Mm-hmm. They're in a studio, whatever it might be. This is quite different. I do kind of, walk you through right before you press record. Right. People are going to ask, or if you hear some of the other podcasts, you kind of have a feel. But man, it's just gonna be fun, unscripted, unprompted, and I'm blessed.
Let's go.
It's gonna be a blast to get to know you, man. But more importantly, what are you drinking?
Coffee with cream, always straight up dark roast with cream.
Dark roast, come on, all right.
That's right.
Heavy cream?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
I go pretty heavy.
Nice.
Either heavy whipping cream or half and half.
Yeah, I love me.
No skim for me.
So I'm usually a black coffee guy too.
All right.
I've had enough this morning, which it's so I don't drink coffee for the pick me up. The caffeine doesn't necessarily affect me in that way. But so I could drink a pot of coffee before bed and sleep like a baby. Maybe the day will come when I'm gonna be eating those words. But I'm running a little frou-frou. I've got a breve latte, so it's made up with half and half.
Yes.
It keeps the beard thick. Which is
there you go. So. Nice. I like that. I'll have to try that sometime.
Yeah.
Gotta thicken mine up.
So, Mark, you'll probably share this with your network. People in the community might know you. Our worlds overlap just a little bit. But there's probably a lot of folks that are in here who have no idea what you do. I didn't even properly introduce you, and that's intentional. So, and I would love to just hear from you in your words. Who are you? Where do you hail from? What do you love to do? What don't you love to do?
Yeah, right.
And just a bit about what it is that you do today.
All right, cool. I'll start with the most important thing. I'm a husband of a wonderful woman named Jenny.
There you go.
She's a nurse practitioner over at Bell & Health.
She picked up the pink shirt, didn't she?
Yeah, possibly had something to do with it. Yeah. The salmon-colored shirt, yes. Father to two sons, 14-year-old Sam, who's in 8th grade, and 10-year-old Daniel.
Awesome.
And he's a 4th grader, so they've been absolute blessings in my life. Keep us plenty busy.
Yeah.
We also have a furry son as well named Rocky. He's a year and a half old.
What kind of dog?
A wheat terrier.
Awesome.
Kind of mid-sized dog, 40 pounds or so. High energy.
Enough to rough around with a little bit.
You got it.
But not too small to break.
Yeah, he's been a wonderful addition to our house.
That's awesome.
But it's not nearly as clean as it once was. But you know how that goes, especially this time of year.
Yeah.
but blessed to live with those 4.
Yeah.
I should say all 4 of us and a dog. I hail from this area, Seymour, so not too far away.
Yeah.
Spent most of my life in this area, besides from a stint in the Milwaukee area for a brief period of time after college.
There you go.
I guess my perfect day, I'll walk you through what that looks like.
Yeah, what's a perfect day?
My perfect day would be coffee. Wake up, coffee, go for a run.
Coffee before you wake up?
Coffee right after I wake up.
Right.
Go for a run. Coffee when I get back.
There you go.
So I think there's some alignment here.
Yeah.
Kyle, we both like coffee. I'd say family road trip then. We love family road trips.
Cool.
Breakfast sandwich.
Yeah.
Sometime within there. More coffee.
What's on the sandwich?
Sausage, egg, cheese.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah. English muffin, biscuit. Depends on the day.
No bacon, huh?
No bacon. I'm a sausage guy.
All right, fair enough.
So I love breakfast sandwiches. I definitely have affinity towards breakfast sandwiches and coffee. But then continue that family road trip in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Maybe a mid-afternoon coffee, and then a cold beer.
Yeah,
And some
there you go.
relaxation.
You have a go-to beer?
There's only been one beer in my life I really haven't liked. And it's the cheap stuff at Costco. Their Kirkland brand.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That stuff was nasty.
Sorry, Costco, but
But I don't have a go-to beer. I like a little of everything. That's why, places like we're here right now at
try new
Copper
stuff.
State.
Yeah.
It's
I'm a
wonderful.
big fan. I kind of like. I'm not a huge fan of sours.
Okay.
But I do have a wide-ranging palate.
Yes.
Some of my favorite beers are like barrel-aged stouts.
Oh, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
dark beers, but then
Yes.
barrel-aged, so you get up to like the 12%.
Right, you got to be careful with those
This is
ones.
awesome. Yeah. But I mean, those aren't beers that you slam. Those are beers that you just sip it and enjoy that type of
Yeah.
stuff. So.
I kind of angle towards IPAs and pale ales.
Yeah.
Myself, but I like darker beers. Depends on the time of year too.
Oh, for
Seasonal stuff is fun.
For sure. So do you guys still live out in Seymour?
No, we live in De Pere.
Okay. West or east?
East.
Yeah,
Right on right on the border of Alloway and De Pere. Mm-hmm. So not too far from our present location.
Yeah. It's a good reminder for your sons.
That's right.
Yeah. Don't disobey dad. That's awesome. Very, very cool. I love the road trip idea. What do you guys? You kiddos in sports?
Yeah. Actually, they're in some elaborate things. My older son is actually into competitive cup stacking.
That's
Have you ever seen that?
No.
Oh, it's pretty nuts. I'll show you a video a little later. But that's taken us all across the country.
Tell me he's on TikTok.
What's that?
Tell me he's on TikTok.
I don't know if he's posting a lot on TikTok, but he is on TikTok quite a bit, at least watching. He's got a YouTube channel that shows some of his cup stacking abilities.
Does he have like a good following?
He's doing all right.
A couple million?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. Maybe a couple hundred.
Awesome.
But yeah, there's this whole subculture of competitive cup stacking, and there's competitions. There's not a lot regionally, not a lot in our area. There's actually not a lot of kids in the area that do it.
Yeah.
He kind of learned. They had a brief segment in gym class on competitive cup stacking, and then he, was interested in it and wanted some for Christmas one year. We got the cups, and they, like anything else, they sat for a long time.
But kind of like the red solo cups, or what is it?
No, there's actually specifically designed cups.
Really?
That are aerodynamic. They don't have a top on them, so you can stack them quicker. It's pretty crazy stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, but he taught himself while watching YouTube videos.
Wow.
So it's been a unique thing for him. And so he's into that. He also plays tennis.
Cool.
Runs some cross country.
Yeah.
Into forensics as well, which is cool to see. So he's a pretty well-rounded kid. My younger one does flag rugby is probably his favorite sport.
Cool.
So he's got a little something different going too.
Yeah.
But then he's into basketball.
Yeah.
And flag football and those kind of things as well.
Now, will they go to? Are they like in the East De Pere school system?
Yes.
So does East De Pere have a rugby team at all?
I believe they have it as a club sport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it didn't exist. It existed, but not. It wasn't offered when I grew up.
Right.
I went to a Schwabnad.
Yes.
And but it's taken off, which is really
definitely.
cool. So kind of neat to see, and it's amazing. Like if you watch the sport, these guys don't have pads on,
Right.
And they get hurt less than football players do.
Absolutely.
That's crazy. I think there's something kind of psychological that happens when you think you get helmet and pads. You think you can just do whatever you want to.
Right.
But rugby is also not a sissy sport. I mean, they're throwing hits and
big
they're
time
in the mix. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's amazing that you can have that kind of intensity and action and contact, but you can do it in a way that isn't going to destroy your body.
Exactly. Yeah, I spent some time in Australia.
Yeah, okay.
In college, so I was exposed to rugby.
Awesome. Did you play it?
A little bit, a little pick me up here and there, pick up games, and it was interesting. It was fun. It was fun to get to know the game and understand it a little bit, and go see some professional games as well.
Yeah.
But to your point on the injury level, you hit differently though too.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a helmet on.
Right.
You don't have all those pads on, so you take a different approach. Like you said, it's just as aggressive, but it's a different kind of tackling and all that stuff.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And so this is your second son. He's into flag rugby.
That's right.
That's awesome, man. So much fun. And how did you and your wife meet?
We met in college. Okay. Actually, her roommate graduated from high school with me.
Yeah.
So over the years, I was at St. Norbert, she was at UWGB.
Okay.
We just ended up at common gatherings and the like, and one thing leads to another. And actually, we got to know each other before, I mentioned that Australia trip.
Yeah.
Before then, and then I went away for 6 months. I came back, and about a month later, one of my good friends said, "Hey, you should call that Jenny girl."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, I probably should."
Yeah, I probably should.
So we rekindled from there. And the rest is history, as they say.
The rest is history.
Yeah, that's right.
And how long have you been married now?
17.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Thank you, man.
That's so cool. So you're helping people build dreams, you're helping dreams come true.
You got it.
That's a short way to say it, but I would love to hear more from your perspective, how you kind of got to where you are today.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little bit more tactically or practically, what exactly do you actually do?
Right. Why don't I start with that one, if that's okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean when I say every organization has an employee engagement issue to varying degrees. Employee engagement, topic. Every organization, to varying degrees, has some sort of issue with employee engagement.
Yeah.
And that's really where I jump in.
Yeah.
I help organizations become better versions of themselves by helping the people within the organization become their best version.
Awesome.
And what does that look like? It looks like helping them articulate their dreams or life goals. You can call it that as well. Sometimes dreams is a little too fluffy for people.
Sure.
But what are your life goals? Let's get them out. When you start to help someone bring out their life goals, their authentic self comes forth. And way too many people have not given themselves permission to dream at certain points in life, or they haven't made time to dream, which I think is probably the bigger problem.
Yeah.
The day-to-day can eat us up. So it's really helping people kind of lay out what they want to accomplish in life, what their life goals are, what their dreams are, then help them put planning in place in order to actually start to bring some of those to fruition. And throughout that, you're weaving in some planning skills, some self-leadership skills, and really helping them become their best version. Then they start achieving things, and amazing things happen within an organization.
Yeah.
You as an employer, help one of your employees achieve a dream, whether that's buying their first house or taking that dream vacation where they wanted to rent that RV and go to Alaska and didn't know where to start, or run their first marathon, whatever it might be. You as an employer, if you play a role in helping them achieve that life goal or dream, you create an amazing level of loyalty and engagement that wasn't there before.
Yeah.
So that's really what it boils down to. Is I help small to medium-sized companies come in, help them understand where they are from an engagement perspective, and ultimately help that organization become its best version through helping their people become the best version.
No, I mean it's probably a small minority of people that are not happy in their jobs, right?
Well, you look at stats all over. Unfortunately, that's not the case. There's stats upward of 85% of people truly aren't engaged in the workplace, which is a sad reality.
Why is that?
Varying things, but I think a lot of it boils down to, you talk compensation, benefits, you talk about aligning behind a mission. All those things are important. Mm-hmm. However, it's almost foolish to think that in this day and age, with every work and life so integrated together, that if people aren't engaged and, what's the word I'm looking for? Passionate, engaged in their life as a whole, that they're also going to walk into the workplace, you go across that threshold of the office or the factory, and all of a sudden they're going to be like, wow, I'm passionate and engaged about my work today. So I think it's resolving, treating the whole person and helping them break away from the day-to-day grind and understand what they want to accomplish in life. And help them find their purpose, and also help them find some things they can strive for. And if you could do that, you help people become more passionate and engaged in their life. they're going to naturally be more passionate and engaged in the workforce.
Yeah.
So I think part of it has to do with what you can structure organizationally. That definitely factors into employee engagement, but it's also on the person.
Yeah.
It's what they're bringing. Are they bringing their best self
Yeah.
to work each day?
Yeah.
And if they're not, it's kind of foolish for us to think that it's not going to lead to an employee engagement issue.
You have a massive ripple effect.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so interesting, and I think you hit it really on the head. It's what do you want?
Right.
What do you want? Right?
Yes.
And I think, well, I wrestled with this in my own life for a long, long time.
Right.
Being clear on what I wanted, being clear on what anyone wants.
Right.
And I think that's a massive starting point to where people end up taking a life plan or life goals that are given to them,
right,
rather than making their own.
Bingo.
Right. And you're in the business of helping people to realize that they're following a path that has been chosen for them, and saying, hey, guess what? You can choose your own adventure.
Right.
Right. And that's awesome, man. That's and what the work that you're doing, and you're not even saying that folks need to leave the companies and go start their own businesses.
Absolutely not.
But they can look at themselves as an integral part to help that company flourish, and everyone wins. The company wins, the employees wins, all that kind of stuff. The more that we get really, really clear on what we want, and then create a plan to go get it.
Bingo. And we all have bad days, right?
Oh yeah.
We all have horrible days.
Speak for yourself.
Days when there's not coffee available, those are real tough days.
Not in my household.
But even if someone's having a bad day, but they know what they're ultimately trying to achieve in life.
Yeah.
And I'm going into the office, or I'm going into the factory today, or I'm going to the warehouse today, or I got to drive this garbage truck today. But I know what I'm ultimately looking to achieve, and there's a reason why I'm going to do that, and it's going to help propel me to achieving one of my goals. It makes that hard day and that grind all the easier.
Yeah, worth it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it makes burning the midnight oil worth it. Right.
Right.
Yeah. When you have that glorious vision and you're crystal clear on that, it doesn't matter which path you choose. You're going to have trials. Right? You're going to have things that you have to conquer, you have to work through.
Right.
All that kind of stuff.
But most people wander through life without truly articulating what they're trying to do.
Yes.
And that's where I come in. I help challenge them and help them not only talk about it, but also write it down.
Yeah.
And then turn that into some planning to actually, what's one small step you can take today to start making that happen.
Yeah.
And the majority of people just haven't taken the time in their life to be able to take that quiet time, really think that through. But most importantly, take out a pen and paper or pencil and paper or a spreadsheet and start actually recording those things and making them real.
Yeah.
Once you start to make them real and have that in front of you and revisit it on a relatively frequent basis, it's amazing what starts to happen.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is it kind of like herding cats? Like when you are brought into a company and people have been living in a certain way with a certain mindset for so long, and maybe they watch their parents do the same thing.
Yes.
And they just think, well, hey, this is life. What do you mean? What do you mean? What I want? What do you mean? What life goals? It's just what I have to do. And I really just kind of live for the weekends.
Right.
Hey, look, Mark. I was taught to go to school Monday through Friday 8 to 5, so I could go to college Monday through Friday 8 to 5, so I could go get a job Monday through Friday 8 to 5, doing something for someone else the rest of my life. Like, isn't that what you're supposed to do?
Yeah, you get a lot of that.
Yeah.
Where you have to kind of break it down is help people understand that the best version of their parents or their best version of their successful cousin in San Francisco or their best version of Kyle is not the best version of that individual.
Yeah.
You have to figure out what the best version of you looks like.
Yeah.
And as soon as you broach that subject, a lot of people let their guard down.
Yeah.
And start to talk about really what they're looking to achieve.
Yeah. That's so awesome. Man.
We all go through that. I mean, we are molded and mentored in certain ways, but at a certain point in life, we have to look ourselves in the mirror and say, is this really what I want to do? I mean, I was guilty of that.
Sure.
For the majority of my career, I'm like, okay, I just want to climb the corporate ladder and make a lot of money, and, this will be fantastic. Maybe I'll be a CEO of a company someday.
Yeah.
Then you really take that step back. Some things happen in your life. You take that step back, you're like, is this really what I want to do?
Yeah.
That's not my vision for my life.
Yeah.
I think that's a vision I've, pieced together based on input from so many other people.
Yeah.
And giving people the space and the freedom and the time to be able to really think some of those things through.
Yeah.
And that's why I think dreams are so powerful. When you ask people what their dreams are, really when they start to reflect and you break through, their authentic self starts to come out.
Yeah.
And that helps them lay out a plan, and that helps them ultimately become the best version of themselves. So the best version of Kyle, the best version of Mark.
Yeah. And it reminds me, like, you are helping people to recapture and remember what it feels like and looks like to dream big.
Think different.
What kid you meet doesn't have the wildest imagination and the biggest and grandiose ideas?
Yes.
Then we come out of the womb just ready to take over and conquer the world.
Oh, you got it, man. Something weird happens.
That's a design feature,
Yes.
not a bug. That's a feature, not a bug, right? And yet, somehow, some way, we've designed a system in life to squash that and to say, nope, you have to fit into this box.
Right on.
And you're saying, hey, man, remember when you were 5 years old? Right? I want you to think like that again.
You hit the nail on the head, and it's something weird happens by the time we're, that 8-year-old, 5-year-old, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Between then and becoming a quote-unquote responsible adult, we either don't give ourselves permission to dream again, we don't feel we deserve to dream again, or I think I hit on it a little bit earlier, we just, in this day and age, we don't take the time.
Yeah.
We're scared to have silent time. We're scared to have thinking time.
Yeah.
Until we're challenged and asked to really do so.
Yeah.
That's just part of a reality of our.
Is that trademarked? Responsible adult?
Yeah.
It's like an industry in and of itself.
Right, isn't it?
Billions off of selling the idea of a responsible adult or whatever that's supposed to mean.
Yes.
That's so interesting.
Well, that's funny because you kind of hit on it earlier too. The 5-year-old, the 8-year-old.
Yeah.
That's actually something I end up utilizing when I talk to groups of people. I throw a picture of me up there on Lake Michigan. I'm probably 7 or 8 years old, and I'm tossing rocks out there. And you can tell I'm just thinking about something.
Yeah.
But I guarantee I'm not thinking about all the things that went wrong yesterday or all the things that are stressing me about tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm there in the moment, but I'm also looking out there and I'm probably dreaming about sailing across that lake, you know what I mean? And the pirates that might be out there, or I'm dreaming about digging a hole and ending up in China and visiting a whole different culture.
How far you can skip this next rock. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm very positive that when I look at a picture like that I was dreaming.
Yeah.
And to your point, that's something that tends to go away as we become responsible adults.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Kyle. Well done on your decision today to be great. Those are my kiddos in the background. Hey, if you want more of this kind of content, find me on social media. We'll keep the conversation going. You can hit me up on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, at StartWithWNTD. Again, at StartWithWNTD. We'll see you there.
Yeah, I was talking with Matthew Key the other day. He's a startup development manager here with the Startup Hub.
Okay.
But also co-founder and CEO of a fintech company.
Nice.
And he was talking about some of his reflections on this podcast and how it was really had a really strong aspirational component to it.
Okay.
And really helping people to see that they can do so much more.
Right.
It's not over till it's over, right?
Absolutely.
And where were you might be at in that journey, 19 years old or 65 years old. And what I really love is exactly what you're sharing in your life work is really getting at the heart of what this is about too. It's helped me able to maybe one way to say it, it's like it seems like we spend so much of our lives crawling on the floor, and we see how close we can live to the floor.
Yes.
It's just like if we only would stand up and realize there's not just a ceiling, but an entire cosmos above us.
Right. Yes.
Like we can gain so much more than we can possibly lose. We can't get any closer to the floor. Get up off the floor, right?
Yes.
And it's like when we start to do, you're helping people to stand up and just to look up and to see the cosmos and see how much possibility and potential there is, and how much they could bring to the world around them, their families, even themselves, just with an idea of doing work that is satisfying, that they enjoy, they're good at, and they can make and build wealth doing.
Oh, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I sit down with an individual or even a group, and we do what's called a dream storm first off, and I start with 20 questions. We kind of play a game of 20 questions, but we start with questions like, hey, if you get up right now and go anywhere in the world, where would you travel? And that's an easy one to answer, right?
Yeah.
But then we move all the way through to question 20, which gets a little deeper and reflective of what do you want to be remembered for?
Yeah.
What do you want to be remembered for? What's your legacy? The legacy question.
Yeah.
And the rooms, if you're in a group setting, get quiet at that point in time, which is great. But then I'll really challenge people to say, okay, what are 10 words you want people to use to describe you? Just take some quiet time over the next day and write those down.
Yeah.
So we run the gamut. However, after that, if I'm working with an individual, it's the crawling on the floor versus looking out on the horizon, as you mentioned. I will challenge people they have to come up with 100 dreams. And you can imagine the reaction to that, right? 100 dreams? I can't do 100 dreams. Everyone can. But it's that breakthrough point. If you can do 100 dreams, then you're really engaged and you're starting to think about where you can go in life. And you're starting to, break through that lack of permission to dream or lack of time to dream. But then we make it real practical. So get their 100 dreams, break through that, no, I can't do this. And then we start to focus on, generally speaking, on 4. What are 2 things you want to accomplish in the next year? What's one that we want to work on together for a 1 to 5 year time frame? And then what's a longer term, 5-10 years out, something you want to accomplish?
Yeah.
So we go from wide, break through the I can't dream by challenging someone to 100, and then narrowly focus down to about 4.
Yeah.
And then start building some plans around them.
Yeah. Man, that's so interesting. So you're striking out a principle, like, for instance, I probably felt the way that a lot of people feel when you said, come up with 100 dreams.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if I could.
Oh, everyone reacts that way.
Yeah,
Everybody.
Yeah. And my point is this: it's like we live in this fast food culture, right?
Right.
Where if we were told, like when you look throughout history, medieval times, or even 100 years ago, the idea of a feast and the course that was spread, we would we wouldn't even know where to start today. To even
Interesting.
To even just do a feast, or you look at all the way back to medieval times, 12 days of Christmas. They were celebrating these feasts. It's like we would have no idea what to do with ourselves. Yes. We wouldn't want to do it. Right? Our desires have been so deformed, so distorted that we'd look at that like, oh, that's too much work. I don't want it. Just where's my Big Mac?
Yes.
And it's like it's almost a similar principle here, where we don't even know what to do with when you say, hey, come up with 100 dreams. We don't even know what to do with that. We have no category for that, and our desires have been so distorted and deformed that we might not even want to try to do that. We'd rather just do what we're doing because that's easier than to try to have to sit here and brainstorm 100 dreams, most of which wouldn't maybe make sense to even come through on, or maybe they would, and we shouldn't have the category for that.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It completely makes sense.
Yeah.
And it is one of those things. I mean, most people aren't going to want to take time for that 100 dreams. They don't. I've got to get up. I got to drink my coffee. I got to get the kids ready for school, run them around, go to work, come home, pick them up, have kids' activities, go to sleep, and start that over again. Yeah. Where am I going to fit that in?
Yeah.
Until you really you start to build in some accountability and say, hey, I really mean it when I say 100 dreams. I want you to go through that exercise and do it. And you push them along and you encourage them. And it's one of the big things that I think we're missing in this world. There's far too many critics and not enough encouragers.
Interesting. I heard recently, and I don't recall. My head is just a a lot floating around up there. But something along the lines of that: the people that are the most closed-minded are the most open-mouthed.
Absolutely.
Like that. The people that are so shut off to everything are also the people that will run their mouth on everything, and have an opinion on everything. And it seems like people that have that responsible adult syndrome, if you want to call it that.
Right.
Well, Mark, don't you know that responsible adults don't dream? We don't have time for these silly things. We are responsible adults. Yeah.
Let me tell you a story actually about someone I was working with, roughly 55 years old. She sits down with me. She's like, I'm 55 years old. I don't deserve to dream. What do I have to live in life yet? What can I really do at this point in my life? My kids are all gone. My career isn't going where I want it to. What do I have to dream about? I don't even deserve to dream. That was the exact words.
Wow.
And I looked at her. I said, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. However, you're in pretty good health. You could probably live to be, what did you say, 90? And she agreed, and she nodded. And I said, well, what do you want to do with the next 45 years? Do you want to piss them away? Right? Do you really? In reality, that's almost 60% of her life. Do you really want to be in that position? If you are, probably shouldn't be having this conversation. And then we went on to some additional small talk, and I said, hey, I want you to really think about that. And if you want to proceed with this and you really want to dare to dream again, give me a buzz back.
Yeah.
It took about a week and a half, but she came back. And we actually did do a dream storm together. We worked through those 20 questions, got her thinking. She did her 100 dreams. We've narrowed down to her 4, and we're working on those.
Yeah.
And then you get that text. Just a random text in the middle of February. I can't wait to meet with you next month. I've got so much to share. So much has changed. That's what can happen with a little bit of encouragement and some tough love, right?
Yeah.
In order to break free people from that responsible adult syndrome, which I like how you coined that.
Yeah, I'm trademarking that, but don't steal that.
There you go. No, but break out of that. It takes some tough love. It takes some encouragement, but amazing things can happen when you do it.
Yeah.
When over a short period of time, I'm talking 3-4 months, when you go from I'm 55, I can't dream anymore, to all of a sudden starting to make dreams happen and positive momentum.
Yeah.
This stuff works.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Martin Luther wrote a book called Bondage of the Will.
Yes.
I'm thinking like 21st century bondage of the mind.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
It seems like we are, the mind is so just imprisoned.
Right.
In so many things that we, and in ways that we don't even know. And that's the problem. Like, we aren't even aware of half the ways that we are just wrapped up in chains.
Exactly.
And you are helping people to break those chains, a chain at a time. It's not a right process, I'm sure.
Yes.
There's a thing, but it's like you're shifting the mindset in massive ways and really freeing people up. I mean, 45 years, that's another lifetime. If she was only 55,
bingo.
45 years is almost basically another lifetime.
Right.
And so in a position like that, it's like, it's not the rest of your life.
Right.
Ma'am, you have another lifetime ahead of you, and yet you have the experience of one lifetime already under your belt. You will change the world.
Exactly. There's the book. All this is based on a book called The Dream Manager. It's written by an author named Matthew Kelly, and he does a fantastic job of kind of debunking what he calls the 2 greatest excuses in human history. And those are, I'm too old for that stuff, or I'm too young for that stuff. But then he there's a YouTube video out there somewhere, but he goes through and he walks through accomplishments and things people have done at various ages throughout their life, made dreams come true, from a 17-year-old all the way up to he talks about a 100-year-old that ran a marathon. And there's a 103-year-old that climbed Mount Fuji. They definitely had a mindset that their future was bigger than their past, and there was something out there to achieve.
Yeah, there's a principle embedded into the architecture of the world.
Right.
It goes something like we become what we behold, or we become the things that we love.
Absolutely.
So the things that we are constantly focusing on, we are eventually become like those things. And that's exactly what you're saying. If we are coming and constantly thinking that the world is small, we're constantly living on the floor, we're constantly thinking this is the way it has to be,
right.
There are no other options, our life will turn out, it'll come out of our fingertips and it'll be that way for us.
Right.
That's not some kind of like spooky, spiritual, weird new age way of thinking. It's how the world is created, right? The desires, thoughts, action, right?
Right.
The desires ultimately drive the behavior.
Yes.
Which is why it's so important to guard the desires, guard the mind, and focus on on the right thing.
Right. And it's not someone's fault that they don't think that way. I didn't think that way.
Right. Yeah,
it took a couple of, I'll call it, grabbing you by the shoulders and giving you a little gentle shake, saying, wake up.
Yeah.
I mean, up until 5 years ago, I was the same way. And this is a gradual process of me finding my way into this kind of field and having this be what I believe strongly believe is my purpose in life.
Yeah.
But the majority of people, and I get it. I mean, I think it's Thoreau that says most men and women live a life of quiet desperation.
Yeah.
I think that's probably true for about 90% of people.
Yeah.
But if kind of bringing it back to the Dream Manager program, if you as an employer can put them in a position where you provide a service that gives them that gentle little shake, grabs them by the shoulders and says, hey, wake up, it's okay to dream again, and help them achieve some things in life, you're going to help them become their best version. And ultimately, that's going to pay your organization back big time.
Yeah, huge.
That's how you resolve employee engagement issues.
Yeah, and by doing that, think about what it costs a company to do that, right? But think about their giving
exactly
to their employees.
Right.
So they're giving more in use value than what it's costing them in that regards.
Right.
And it's probably safe to say a lot of employers don't have that mindset. The way that I think of it before, and kind of describing what you go into companies and do, is you really help to cultivate the human capital.
Correct.
The idea is that the company should already be doing that, and this is what human resources in a sense, should be, but it's not. Right? It's like here's the box. We want this position to be in between, this number of dollars and this number of dollars, and we need to try to fit, this, round peg in a round hole.
Right.
And it can never be anything else. And when you start to kind of create that kind of grid, I get it from like a massive perspective, you planning and forecasting, all that kind of stuff. But when you start to treat people just like cogs in a machine,
right on.
And you're not actually developing them as living, breathing, organisms that actually can help the company to evolve and to grow, you're going to have massive turnover. You're constantly dying. I could imagine that you could have half the workforce, but if they were all following something like you are doing, they could be twice as successful.
Very much so.
Yeah, I think about the human waste, if you will, the lost man hours of productivity because of how unsatisfied people are dragging themselves to work in the morning.
Right on.
Rather than like, I can't wait to get there and go in.
Right. And it's one of those things too. I mean, we can keep dumping more into compensation,
right,
into benefit plans, into wellness programming. All those things definitely make a difference, and I applaud all that. And creating a work environment that is engaging, and people truly have good, healthy conflict, and they help be a part of moving the mission forward, and they really buy into that. Those are all important.
Yeah.
But more than ever, with the integration of life and work, it's foolish to think that we can't take care of that we can only take care of them while they're at work, and help with career development only, and leave everything else behind.
Yeah.
Where in reality, if they're not passionate, engaged in their life as a whole, they're truly not going to be passionate, engaged in the workplace.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's look at it as a whole, especially in this day and age where everything is so integrated and we're expecting more of people.
Yeah, and personally, I'm not a big fan of the idea of like a work-life balance.
I completely agree with you.
Because I don't think there is such balance, right? I mean, people.
I avoid that term at all costs.
Yeah, people will spend most of their lives at work. There's nothing balanced about that.
Right.
So if you're constantly thinking in like, hey, I've got all these separate buckets, and it's like a linear mindset. No, like you need to think in a 360 ultimate mindset. Like it's who you are, and how you are at home affects who you are at work, and all that kind of stuff, and who you are at work, and your work affects who you are at home. Like you have to look at, like you said, it as an integrative whole.
Yes.
And when you treat the whole person, it's going to go better for everybody.
Yes.
So I mean, you probably have already alluded to this, but you can articulate it in Mark. Why, man? Why do you get up every morning and continue to help other people get outside the box?
It goes back to the quote I mentioned earlier. Most men and women live lives of quiet desperation, and for me, that strikes a very real chord of sadness in me. And that's really what drives me.
Yeah.
I want to help as many people as I can shake themselves from that. And like I said, I'm a work in progress too. I'm by no means perfect at all this, and I'm still trying to figure out. I'm not quite. And I just think it's important for pretty much everyone needs a coach. Everyone needs a coach. And that's not for me to try to, find work. I think in reality, everyone needs someone to encourage them, to challenge them, and to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
And that's where in life we start to really make progress.
Yep.
And we find happiness in the journey, and not think of that as the destination.
Yeah.
We find it in the day-to-day.
Yeah.
So my why is really helping people, those people that are in that quiet desperation, break loose of that.
So does that come from, like, were you once that man? Did you once have that quiet desperation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No doubt. And I think I probably had it for 12 years.
Yeah.
I didn't care when I was in my teens and 20s. I wasn't thinking that deeply.
Sure.
And,
sure.
I was just having a good time and go to work. And I was living for the weekend like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
No big deal. But then you kind of... You get into having children and buying houses and becoming a responsible adult. I'll do the quote-unquote responsible adult thing again, since it's working for us.
Yeah.
But, quiet desperation, I think, is a very accurate depiction of what my life looked like.
So what was the switch for you then? Because you're not that today.
No. It's a great question. There's a few different switches. One in particular, someone introduced me to a book. It was a coworker of mine named Jeff. And I still don't think he knows the depth of the impact it made. but he introduced me to a book called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff by Richard Carlson. And it's it's short chapters. It's like a daily read kind of book. But that was one of those times in my life where that book basically grabbed me by the shoulders and gave me that little shake and said, wake up, man. It gave me a whole new perspective on life and helped me understand that Richard says in one thing in there, I think I have it written down here too, let go of the idea that gentle, relaxed people cannot be super achievers. That hit me upside the head because I believe I was trying to be something in the workplace and another thing at home. That by nature, I tend to be a gentle, relaxed person, and I wasn't depicting that at work. Do you know what I mean? I was all about, trying to make more money, trying to climb the corporate ladder, trying to have that awesome title in the corner office and all that stuff as well. That book really started to get through to me. And all the changes didn't happen immediately, but it definitely started me down that path.
We'd call that a really responsible adult.
Right, exactly. But it was a profound experience, and it led to a few others that kind of helped shape me and bring me to the point of being a certified dream manager, with people always goof at and my kids pick on me about all the time, by the way.
That's funny, But, it's amazing, man. Isn't it? It astounds me, the power of words to create and to impact. And you picked up a book, or it was given to you.
Right.
And like you said, Jeff probably has no idea just the depth or the breadth of the
I've mentioned it to him a few times, but I still don't think he understands how much it shook my world.
And maybe he never could.
Yeah.
And there's that, or we've had folks on the show that were told when they were young they would never be anything in life. Right. And that is what spurred them to this it switched their mindset.
Yes.
To become everything that they absolutely could. Or folks on the positive side, had someone just come along and said, you can do more.
Yeah, exactly. Put the arm around them.
Yeah. Something in passing, almost a relative stranger, you never see him again in life. 4 words, you can do more, and it changes everything for them.
That's the encouragement I was talking about earlier.
Isn't that
an
amazing?
Encourager through a few short words can do a lot for an individual.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not necessarily when I said what switched for you, what was that switch, or what flipped the switch. Life is more the process of maturity and how we change and grow. It's much more organic than that. It's more like a garden, right? So like a seed is planted, right? Or you got the water or the sunlight that you needed,
right?
And you felt like you were withering away a little bit. It's like, or the breath of fresh air coming through. For people to, it's just amazing. I guess maybe the take home here is, if you're listening to this, go find someone to encourage today. You may never see the fruit of those words ever in your life, but you could radically alter the course of someone's life for the better today.
Bingo. I think you nailed it. And that's so important. And it could be a stranger, or it could be someone you haven't talked to in years. It could be a simple letter. It could be an email. You can do it in all sorts of different ways.
Yeah.
Or giving someone a compliment.
Yeah.
Just a simple compliment can change someone's day.
Yeah.
Where they're down in the doldrums and they're having a rough time, and all of a sudden that compliment can shoot them in a whole different direction for the day.
Hey, thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, and only if you think the show deserves it, would you go over to Apple Podcasts and give us an honest, thoughtful 5-star review? This will really help us in our mission to equip the world for success.
All right, man. So let's get into it. As you're looking over the course of your career today, you've had great success. You were driven in the corporate world, and you spun off and realized, hey, there's so much more I can be doing in the corporate world than just trying to, be King Tut on the top of the pyramid.
Right on.
That you can actually help other people to grow and flourish, and that's one of the greatest ways you can impact companies as a whole, rather than just leading one company, right? So I'm curious, you wouldn't have had some of these successes if you did everything wrong in life. So as you look back over the course of your career to date, obviously still a lot of chapters left to write, which is exciting. But what are a few things that choices you made, decisions you made that were really, really good decisions, things you did right, things that you would unabashedly tell someone else, do this?
One is, someone gave me this advice along the way, and I don't know who it was, and it actually drives me crazy that I can't remember who it was, but it's a simple piece of advice, and that is you either give energy or you take it. And that's whether when you walk into a room, you either give energy or take it. When you meet someone for the first time, you either give energy or take it. The way you interact with your family, you either give energy or take it. It applies to almost everything in life, and it's so simple and it's binary, right? So that's one of those things that I've really embraced, especially in the last 5 years. But I was decent at it before I kind of had that breakthrough moment in my life, that book that changed things. Yeah. But I really intensified that too, and I try to carry that forward wherever I go. Yeah. And really just give people energy. And some days it's not easy, right? But it's also a decision you got to make when you get out of bed in the morning. Yeah. So I think that's one of the things I've done a pretty darn good job of. Yeah. And always trying to be better than I was yesterday too. So kind of a forward-looking mindset too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think we've all probably felt when someone walks in the room and they zap the energy. I think someone on a previous episode called it an energy zombie.
Yeah, I've heard energy vampires, so very similar.
Yeah. It just sucks. You almost can't explain it. I'm sure scientifically it'd be really hard to quantify.
Right.
But you experience it, you feel it, you sense it. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
And no one likes that. No one likes that experience. But sometimes, if we're not careful, maybe we are unaware that we are that energy vampire, right?
My kids call me out on that. They do.
Dad, you're sucking my
energy. You're not giving energy right now.
Yeah. Man, that's so good. And like just like everything, we have to. That has to be part of that clear focus, that clear desire for who we want to be, kind of built into that framework of, man, I want to give more than I take.
Right.
When I come in this room, I want to. Whatever it was. Actually, I thought you did a great job with that. Today, I'm coming in. I came out of the bathroom at Copper State, and there you are, beaming at me with a cup of coffee. I'm like, dude, I was behind. It's like, whatever. And it was awesome, man. So I think you modeled that well, which is great.
Appreciate that.
What else, man? What else did you do right?
It's in line with that, too. And it's... How do I want to articulate this? Trying my very best to not be efficient with people. Be efficient with process, be efficient with other things in life, but don't be efficient with people. Too often, people need more time from you than you even know. So try not to box yourself in. Try not to be running from meeting to meeting. And this is another one I got from the Richard Carlson book. Just kind of try to keep in mind that life is not a huge emergency. It's not moving from one emergency to the next. Especially in your interactions, take the time that person needs. And that's something, we'll probably hit on this a little bit later. I didn't do a very good job of early in my career. From a leadership perspective or a management perspective, I was way too efficient with people. And we'll dig in that a little bit later. But
I just wrote that down as under the next section of what not to, because that's amazing. I've actually it makes so much sense. I've never heard it put that way. So we'll definitely double click on that.
Yeah, so that's another one. Someone said that to me at some point, but I wasn't mature enough to write it down and say, that person gave me that. But it's one of those that always chimes in my ears. Like, don't be efficient with people. Yeah. Be efficient with other things, but don't be efficient with people.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of, I'll pause here and say, this podcast is really, I'm kind of selfish.
Yeah.
Like, this is about me learning. Like, I love this. I get to pick, guys' brains like Mark or whoever it might be, and just learn so much. I'm not doing this because I'm successful. I'm doing it because I'm learning. And then I get to broker. I think all learning is in vain unless you're doing it for the sake of others. Learning for the sake of others. Learning so you can reproduce that for others.
Right.
And that's exactly what I get to do. I get to broker this conversation. I get to learn and then give it to the world.
Right.
And so, if you're listening to this, I'm assuming you're driving, don't pick up a pen and paper, but if you're not, jot this down or make a mental note or whatever it is. Just some really, really good stuff. But that was a light bulb for me in that regard.
Awesome.
How tempting is it, to want to be efficient with people and thinking that that's actually doing them a service?
Yeah.
But it shows that we are prioritizing something over people, actually.
Bingo.
And
You
that's
got
the key.
it.
But we'll double click on that in a little
And
bit.
it is, and we're most, generally speaking, we're most guilty of it with the people we're closest to, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's pretty human nature, too. I mean, the people that are closest to you see the whole catastrophe, right?
Yeah,
They
right.
see the good, the bad, the ugly, everything like that. And you got to get them to a point where they're very comfortable giving you that feedback, too. But
Actually-
I was too efficient with my son this morning.
Yeah.
You know, our conversation should have went about a minute or two longer than it is. But those are lessons learned that you can apply going forward.
My wife is probably going to chuckle because she loves listening to these podcasts. It's
Yes.
awesome, love the support. And like when I'll make a decision, be like, okay, I'm going to go and crank out some working out at home, like put the kids down, and it's always at that point in time that she'll like put her arm around me and just want me to hug and hold her. And I was like, I just told you I got to go, right? And she's like, yeah, but I just want to hug and hold you. It's like I just told you, like now's not the time. I just
Right.
told you I gotta
Yes.
go. Why are you doing this? And it's a good reminder that hey. Like maybe in that situation I'm being inefficient. Or I'm being efficient with my
Right.
wife, rather than understand that this is a great opportunity to be inefficient, right? And because I'm going to go and be efficient in my processes, in my work, after hours,
Right.
It actually gives me more time to be inefficient with my wife.
Exactly.
Which is great. Yeah.
And we're never going to be perfect at it, but it's
Yeah.
just one of those concepts that can help us from an awareness perspective.
Yeah,
We-
for sure. Absolutely.
Okay, am I being efficient with this person or not?
Yeah.
You're not going to be perfect every time, but you're going to catch yourself a lot more times just because you have that little trigger in your mind.
Yeah, no one loves to feel like they were just chewed up and spit out.
Exactly.
Right. Well, we might as well just dig into that. So, as you're looking back over the course of your life, not all right, right? I'm going to roll the dice and say, well, you're human, and you probably made some mistakes.
Plenty. The confessional's open.
Right. This is episode 1 of 100 with Mark Cumicek.
That's right.
So give me 1, 2, 3 things, and we can we'll start to riff on that idea of efficiency with people. But that kind of failures that rise to top of mind, they stick out kind of head and shoulders above the rest. That you'd readily tell someone else, hey, do not be this, don't be this. So don't be efficient with people.
Yeah, I'll kind of anchor that one in one of those moments that burned a memory that I'll always have is, the first time I was promoted to a manager. I won't even say a leader at that point because I had no business calling myself a leader. But I'm talking 15 years ago, right? And you're really good technically. You're doing this great job I was in an underwriting field, so did a great job of underwriting. I was leading some projects, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, we want you to take on this leadership, this management position. And of course your ego says, hell yeah, I'm all in on this. This is great. It's more money, some prestige, all that stuff. But before you know it, you have 15 people looking to you for direction and answers. And clearly I wasn't prepared for it. One thing leads to another. A few months after that happened, I was having serious panic attacks. I had to, literally one day I just left. And I called my boss. I said, I need to be out of here for a couple of days. I can't handle this. And that lack of preparation or being ready to take on a responsibility from that slapped me upside the head. My ego thought I could do it, but in reality I wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
So what not to do? There's kind of two perspectives here. If you're a aspiring leader and you're very good technically, just be very careful on the timing of taking on people leadership responsibilities, because that's a huge undertaking and it's a privilege and a responsibility you got to be ready for.
Yeah.
So if you're offered that and you haven't had some mentorship and some training and some help preparing for that, make sure you ask for it. Don't let your ego just say, I'm all in, without having the proper support. Because you're going to have people that are really counting on you. And in order to be the best for them, you have to be ready and prepared as an individual to take that on. Now, from an employer perspective, I know we hear this all the time, that we shouldn't promote people that are technically strong and just assume they're going to be a great manager or a great leader.
Yeah.
Really help them prepare to take that next step for the good of your organization.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting. So how would you say it in a don't do this way? Would you say don't prematurely take on more responsibility or opportunity, or how would you phrase it?
Just be Make sure you're prepared to take on the responsibility of leading people before just jumping in to do it.
Yeah.
And that's going to take some reflection. That's going to take some preparation. Because all too often we see it where we throw people out that are technically strong, throw them off the deep end and ask them to swim. That's not helping your organization.
Yeah.
Because there's likely to be some flailing, and it's not just going to be that individual, it's going to be the people that they're responsible for as well.
Yeah.
But it takes discipline from the developing person, right? Because it's a new responsibility. It's something they really want to do. They're fired up. It's good for their ego to say, yeah, I'll do that. I'll figure it out. I'd say give it some thought, give it some time, ask for the resources and the mentorship in order to make sure that you're ready to be and set up to be successful.
Yeah. The word that's coming to mind is discount. It's important that we don't discount that process of learning how to lead.
Yes.
If we discount and say, it's not that important.
Right.
I'm successful on this technical aspect, so certainly I can lead people.
Yes.
Right. I can tell them what to do because I can do it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's an art and science to leadership.
Absolutely.
Right? And we're always learning. Right. We're always learning how to lead and to love others, to unleash them to do what they do best.
Right.
And if we haven't had the proper training or gone through the right channels or gauntlet to be formed to be able to do that, we need to do that. We should
mentorship and
dismiss that. Yeah,
mentorship
exactly.
and leadership training is hugely important for people to be successful as leaders.
But can we really learn anything from like success gurus like that?
You can get a little bit from here and there, but I know you are. I know you are.
And that's sometimes there's that stigma of like everything's a scam, right?
Right.
But I think it just seems weird to us because it's uncommon, and it's maybe uncommon in our day and age to actually for the masses, for the majority of people to take leadership seriously and cultivating that in their own lives. I think everyone should do that. It doesn't matter if you never actually lead a team of people, you're leading yourself.
Yes.
Right?
Self-leadership skills are huge.
Right. And so it's like the idea is that like self-government, self-leadership is the common denominator of all leadership. You can't lead yourself, you can't lead others, right? And that's the place it starts. Whether or not you lead a team, you need to know how to lead yourself. It's going to be a lifelong process, but you have to start somewhere. It starts somewhere, right?
It does.
And it's not whether or not you're a leader, it's how you lead. We are all in some capacity a leader, even if only leading ourselves.
Yes.
And so the question is not whether or not you're a leader, but what kind of leader are you? And it's so important to be mindful of these things. When there's opportunities to be able to learn from others, a book that's recommended or whatever it might be, don't dismiss it, don't discount it. Press in, learn, cultivate, develop, grow all the more.
Exactly, and I think the workplaces in general have done a much better job of that over the last 20 years, gradually preparing people for that responsibility. And don't get me wrong, there's so many other things in life. I'm all about jump in and figure it out. But I think when you have that delicate responsibility of leading people, that's a powerful one. Make sure you're prepared. And organizations, make sure you're preparing your people for that.
Or even the line of work that you're doing. Maybe someone has never dreamed that they could lead people.
Right.
Right. And so part of that's actually expanding their mindset and saying, wow, I could actually lead a team of people. I think I actually have what it takes.
Yes.
Yeah, you do. Go cultivate that, go develop it.
Right on.
And then go do it.
Yeah. And kind of tying that back, in that period of time too, I was so efficient with people. I couldn't get them in and out of my office soon enough, right? Because let's resolve this and move on. And not helping people resolve their problem or think through it. You're just giving them the answer because you want to move on to the next thing. And you're canceling meetings with one-on-one meetings and things like that because you're too busy. It's being terribly efficient with people.
It just clicked for me. I'm not a huge fan. There's a really big push in our day and age on data and analytics.
Yes.
On the numbers, right?
Yes.
And in one sense, that's so important. But I don't think the numbers or the data tells the whole story. But we want to make it tell the whole story.
Right on.
Like we're in this drive is like saying like, well, that there's, there's quantitative and there's qualitative, right? And the data doesn't always give the qualitative picture. You need the whole person, the whole thing, not just hard numbers. You need both for sure, to be certain. But it seems like that idea of in and out with people has to do with, well, I just read the data, right? Or think about how we approach that, like from like a resume perspective, right? Here's the data on the paper.
Right.
Qualified, right? You could be an absolute.
Or in this day and age, you're too overqualified too. You see all the time.
Or whatever it is. It's just like our people are so much more than data points, right? Than simple analytics. Analytics can't hug you, right? They don't bleed.
Yes.
And I think that's so important in that component with how you're describing it in an awesome way. Don't be efficient with people, right?
Yes.
People are not efficient.
Right.
This is not an efficient world in many capacities, right? You can look at the processes of nature, and a lot of it is actually inefficient, and gloriously so.
Right on.
Beautifully so.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Can I go tangentially for a second here?
For sure.
Because you hit on the point with the data and analytics.
We never do tangents.
All right. I love data analytics.
Yeah.
I do.
Oh, for sure.
And I love in this day and age, too, that we have access to so many different inputs and perspectives.
Yeah.
Podcasts like this in particular, we get that. We can go watch YouTube videos. We can read blogs. We've got access to all these different perspectives. So you throw all that at us, you layer on top data, you know what we're leaving away from our decision-making process? Our inner voice. So that's one of the things that worries me, and actually that kind of drives what I'm doing as well too.
Yeah.
Is I want people to really take seriously, respect data, respect the perspectives, even the things I'm preaching at you right now, but don't take them for gospel.
Yeah.
Take those all as people gathered around the table with you, but don't forget to invite your inner voice to the table and have some respect for that voice as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's going to take the dreaming, but it's also going to take some time spent in silence and quiet and really allowing yourself to embrace that inner voice.
Yeah.
Very few times our conscious or our inner voice leads us astray. So make sure it has a seat at the table along with data, along with the great valuable opinions of others in your decision-making process. So how's that for a tangent?
Yeah, that's fantastic. It reminds me of the saying, numbers don't lie, people do. And that idea of voice, how there's a way in which we can take the good, in a sense, amoral data that's just telling us facts.
Yes.
And we can use the facts to our advantage or disadvantage. We can use it for positive or negative.
Yes.
And we can twist it to make it look a certain way.
Right.
And that's the thing. It's numbers don't lie. People do.
Yeah. Right.
And it calls us to a higher sense of responsibility with how we wield that data, because the data is really important. And what I said earlier, and exactly what you said, like, I love data, and we shouldn't dismiss it. It's amazing what we have as far as data points that can fill in the picture.
Yes.
But we ultimately need to be really, really good stewards with that data, and what story we try to tell with it ultimately.
It actually ties into another failure or a lesson learned, which I wasn't even expecting to
You
go.
have another failure?
Yeah. Again, one in my career where we're working on data conversion. So we were moving from one system to a new one over the cut-over weekend. You look at the data and everything looked good from the data transactions, and everything was looking, we got all the information moved over. We're running some tests. That's looking good. Everyone around is kind of looking at, we're ready to move forward on this. All their opinions and all that. I'm in 20-something, and it's my decision whether we're going to go or not go from a data conversion perspective. And data looked okay. Everyone wanted to move forward, and because we were sick of this project, I think, in a lot of ways. But something deep inside of me told me something wasn't right, and I didn't listen to that voice.
No.
And when we went live, you know what? Things didn't go well.
Yeah.
Something fell apart in the process. And that was one of those first awakenings of don't completely drown out your inner voice. Make sure it has a seat at the table and that you're giving it its due respect.
Yeah, that's really, really important. Don't ignore the inner voice. And a great story to really draw that out. The data doesn't tell
Well, it was a mess, too.
Yeah.
I mean, after that data conversion, we had months and months and months of cleanup. And I kicked myself for not taking a step back and at least analyzing why I felt something was wrong and having some conversations with people that would have potentially led us to say, nope, this didn't go well this weekend. We got to try again next weekend, because it would have saved us a lot of money and a lot of time and heartache.
Yeah. Call it inner voice, call it gut,
Exactly.
call it the limbic brain, whatever it is.
Yes.
Don't.
It's got a place at the table. Is it always right? Probably not always, but it's certainly trying to tell you something.
You're right, exactly. It's a feature, not a bug.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, I want to know who's next. Who do you want to hear on what not to do? Which entrepreneur, which leader, which public figure in your network do you want to hear on the show? Maybe it's you. Maybe you need to be here. So let's connect me with whomever, and we'll sit down for coffee, a beer, or even a cigar, and together equip the world for success.
All right, so looking back, if you could counsel your younger self, younger Mark, if you had a guy that reached out to you and wanted to he could see himself in your place, how would you counsel him, assuming you don't want him to repeat the same failures that you made and suffer needlessly? He's going to have plenty of his own, I'm sure. How would you counsel him to go about doing things a little bit differently to help avoid experience the same successes that you had, what you did right, but avoid the things that you did wrong?
First off, I'd have him, if he's balding, shave his head earlier. I probably should have did about 5 to 6 years
You'd
when
have been a
I did.
CEO by now, right?
Exactly. It was the best move I could have made. So if your hair is thinning and you're self-conscious about it, shave your head earlier, right? Things start to fall into line then. Have the courage to do it. But seriously, though, I'm going to anchor this one in a story, too, because this one's going to be somewhat deeper. And I'm going to say, don't cherish grudges. Okay? And earlier in my career, again, just being who I was at that point in time, trying to move ahead, I was on a project, and me and a certain person named Laura did not see eye to eye. And we had, I won't even say debates, arguments over how we're going to move forward. And the disdain just grew and became very toxic. And you realize that between two people, there's that energy and that toxicity. But then you start to look around and you see when you enter a room with that person, you're in a meeting with them, you ruin the dynamics of that meeting and how that spreads. Don't cherish a grudge. Yeah. I was too prideful, right? And too prideful to address that. Yeah. What happens then is, Laura is the one that had the courage to pull me in a room and say, this is getting ridiculous. You and I got to figure this out. Yeah. You apologize to each other. You forgive. Yeah. Forgiveness, I think, is the path in a lot of things. To workplace effectiveness, to relationships, to being forgiving of yourself. Yeah. But Laura had the courage to come up and say, hey, I'm sorry for what I did to contribute to this. I didn't have the courage to do that. It led to me, saying I'm sorry, and we forgave each other. Yeah. We had a good cry. We gave each other a hug. And you know what happened? Our relationship was better for there. Yeah. Because she had the courage to move forward and seek forgiveness and bring to the table, say, I know I'm a part of this. Let's make it better. Yeah. And that was a lesson that I've carried almost every day. Yeah. I mean, where are the grudges that we sometimes don't even realize that we're carrying that I can address? Because it's not only going to make their life better, it's going to make my life better and all those people around you. Yeah. So to bring it back to a bigger point, just remember and it kind of ties into the energy we talked about, the impact that you have on everyone around you. Yeah. And don't underestimate that. We all have that impact at varying degrees, but don't underestimate it. It's not just you, and it's not just you and the person you're conferring with, or you the person you're having the conflict with, or you the person you're celebrating with. All that energy has an impact on all those around you. Yeah,
our thoughts, our words, our actions are all impacting people in ways that we're probably not even aware of.
Right. I just want the younger me to understand the power of that and the responsibility of that.
Yeah. That's really important, man, and it's a massive one. Bitterness is like gangrene; it just spreads.
Yeah, totally.
And it does become a focal point, which means the more you focus on it, the more it's going to continue to spread and become what you experience and what comes onto your fingertips. And so often, I think a common defense mechanism for us, like if we've been hurt or if we've been wronged, like we want vindication. We want to
Yes.
vindicate ourselves.
Yes.
We want revenge. We want to take it upon ourselves to do that. We don't want to even consider that maybe we did something wrong. We don't want to take ownership. Or if we were truly wronged, right, and we didn't necessarily have a wrong in the matter,
Yes.
We still don't want to take ownership to try to seek reconciliation in helpful ways or just forgive,
Yes.
right? And things never go well when we try to take it upon ourselves to exact that vengeance
Yes.
or revenge. And it's just amazing, but it needs to be done. I mean, it would seem to me, again, this would be something that would be like really hard to quantify, but you use the word toxic, and when that's just, boiling and stirring in you and bottling up in you, that pressure is starting to cook in you.
Yes.
It doesn't take much. You poke you and you blow.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And,
right.
and it might not be anyone that has anything to do with that situation, but how it's affecting your other relationships, home relationships,
Yes.
just life in general, yourself. Man, it's just like deal with that
Right.
before it destroys everything.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Laura taught me an invaluable lesson in that situation because I was too prideful.
Yeah.
I was all about this grudge is a cool thing, right? This is awesome. Wearing it as a badge of honor. Her and I don't get along, and who aligns with me and who aligns with her.
Yeah.
For her to say, "Cut the crap, Mark. Let's go talk in the room," and have the courage to do that and say, "I'm sorry for what I contributed,"
Yeah.
and being the better person taught me such a valuable lesson.
Yeah.
But forgiveness is one portion of it too. But I also want the younger me to realize again everything we do impacts those around us, whether we think it or not.
Yeah. So what does that have to do with shaving your head?
Those are two independent topics, but definitely shave your head.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. There's actually some deeper, substantial principles there. You maybe meant it as kind of like a light thing, but think of like the way that maybe someone's insecure about it, right? But they're trying to compensate for the insecurities or whatever, like,
right.
Or the way that we're constantly comparing ourselves, or I don't have this, or I don't have that, and well, if I could just do this, or maybe if I could just, and it's just like just be thankful, be content with who you are. I've told my wife that. I'm like, if and when I start balding, because both sides are bald, so I'm assuming I'm not.
You've got a good, healthy head of hair there, man.
It might not last forever.
You should not shave your head.
Yeah, right. But if I start balding, I'm not going to bick it, but I'll take it down,
right?
And just own it, right? And it's kind of like just being content in your skin with who you are. I think that's actually a really good principle, generally speaking, because everything we do has an impact on us, right?
Yeah.
And even the way that we carry ourselves and think of ourselves, just being comfortable in our skin, right?
It's probably is weaved through our conversation today too, but it's another lesson for the younger me too. It piggybacks on what you're saying, Kyle. Don't be two different people.
Yeah.
Don't be one person at work and one person the rest of your life.
That's
Which
so
for a
hard.
while I think that was the norm, and that was kind of encouraged to be two different people. But part of my breakthrough was, again, based on that one book that got me heading down that path of, that's stupid, man. Bring the authentic you to the game.
Those pesky books.
Yeah.
Disrupting our lives.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be uncomfortable, first of all, especially if you're used to having
there's so
that
much fear
division.
there.
Right.
If I'm really myself, like what are people going to think? And by the way, we should probably qualify that. Being yourself and just being one person doesn't mean airing your opinions on everything.
Oh, completely agree.
And using that as a hammer, be like, this is what I think and this is who I am.
Yes, right.
I've certainly made that mistake before, and trying to just be me. So maybe you want to just draw that out for our listeners a little bit, as far as like, what does it look like to try to when someone's trying to be different people, and what ought it look like, and just being who we are.
Yeah, and you're absolutely correct in your assessment of that. The warning associated with that too. You have to sprinkle in an appropriate level of emotional intelligence.
Right.
And the awareness of, when I say this, how am I going to be perceived?
Yeah.
And how is it going to either take or give energy to those around me too? And there's an appropriate way of voicing your opinions and your perspectives.
Yeah.
But you also got to keep in mind, everyone else in that room that you're talking to, or you're airing your grievances, they all have their own perspectives as well.
Yeah.
They see life through a whole different set of eyes and a set of filters and experiences. It's foolish for me to think that you're going to think about something the same exact way as I am.
Yeah.
So you got to have that respect and that just self-awareness when you're bringing your authentic self there too.
Yeah.
And I think more than that, I don't have to go to work and, be demanding and over the top to get results and be all about, again, being efficient with people just to drive the numbers and all that stuff. And then at home be this relaxed and gentle person. You can be that relaxed and gentle person, and as Richard Carlson said, and still be a super achiever.
Yeah.
You just got to figure out how to best utilize those skills. And it's crazy. Once you bring your authentic self, people tend to gravitate towards you.
Yeah, that's cool. And maybe a good gauge as far as if we're trying to be two different people is when we find ourselves afraid to say something.
Yes.
When fear is starting to associate it, and it's usually the fear of what others are going to think.
Right.
Again,
and I'm as guilty as that as the next guy.
Yeah, and again, it's not permission just to, someone's yapping about so and so, so I should give my opinion too. That's not what I'm talking about. But for instance, like let's say you saw something unethical happen at work, or stealing. The right thing to do, because stealing is wrong, and you believe stealing is wrong, is to go through the right channels to address that situation. If you were there personally, maybe it's a one-on-one, or even in your situation with Laura and seeking the forgiveness, right? That's who you are. We make mistakes in life, so let's seek forgiveness. Let's not be afraid to do that. Usually when if we're afraid, and it usually has to do with how other people are going to perceive us, or how we're comparing ourselves, or something taking into our pride, it might be an indicator that we're not actually being consistent with who we say we are.
That's well said. Yes.
Would you agree with that?
I do agree. I can't really add to that. I think you hit it on the head.
Yeah, and there's probably more, but it's good to be self-aware, right? And I love it. Don't try to be two different people. Another thing that came up in a previous episode was adopting qualities and traits. So let's say like you came in high-powered, right, and you wanted to be that CEO, and you saw this CEO that was like super aggressive and thinking like, oh, that's what it means to be a CEO. That's who I need to be. And so you, as the young guy, try to be that guy. And that a lot of things can go wrong for you at that point. It's not to say that we don't learn by imitation and can't adopt the qualities and make them our own, but when we just simply try to put on the suit or put on the mask, or the shoes are too big, they don't fit type of thing, they just look goofy. Any experience or thoughts on that?
That's hugely important. It's funny how things align, and I don't believe in coincidences. I think as soon as you stop believing in coincidences, everything changes, because things align for a reason. But kind of those timings when I was starting to have more of a reflective state and understand myself better. I was also blessed to work with a CEO that was very human, very much a coach and mentor and encourager. So I could kind of see his style in play. And he was a fantastic mentor to me as well. So it's kind of like the stars, everything came together where I was ready to listen to someone like him and to witness, how he goes about things. So it aligns with that. I saw some of the other stuff in the past, but when I saw this kind of leader step forward, he was an incredible mentor and really showed by example, how to conduct yourself.
And it should be a badge of honor when we see our mentor's fingerprints on us, right? Like that's a good thing, right? And yet we're still uniquely ourselves, but people shape us and influence us, and that's a good thing. And
so awesome. Kudos to you, Darwin Coatman, if you listen to this by chance.
Darwin,
he's awesome.
Shout out, let's get him.
He's
on
the
show.
Man. He and just professionally, I think we'll probably hit on this a little bit later too. But professionally, him and Carol Sanders, who was a CFO at a company I worked with for a long time, and those two were incredible mentors, and their fingerprints are still on me to this day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that was the next question I was going to ask. So, feel free to unpack that a little bit more.
Yeah, those two. I'll just mention those two. Definitely have a place in it. But I'm going to say the biggest fingerprints in my life definitely are my mom.
Yeah. Okay.
My mom passed away. Gosh, I'm already losing track. I want to say 7 years ago. This month, March actually, and she became more powerful to me as an influence probably after she went to heaven. In a strange way. She was very much a homebody. Not a lot of people knew her, but she was intellectually a beast. I mean, she's the wisest woman. And she's a poet, and she's that reflective person that really looked to life through a different lens and truly tried to understand what it was and how she fit in. and who she wasn't as well.
Yeah.
Which she was stubborn and painful about at some points, because you're like, Mom, come on. We want you to come with us and go do this. And she would be very set in her ways of certain things she wanted to do.
Yeah.
But she was definitely that kind, gentle voice, that person that really, truly listened to her inner voice and took that into consideration in her decision-making. And her fingerprints are definitely all over me.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, environments growing up, it's so important.
Yes.
It's really fun to hear the stories of how people are shaped. Mm-hmm. So that's wonderful. A good mom. If you're a mom and you're listening to this, you have a noble calling. So thank you for the work that you do.
Here's the type of mom she was, too, growing up, too. I, at one point, sprinklers going in the backyard, it's 85 degrees out in Seymour, Wisconsin. We're having a good old time, have the kiddie pool out and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I walk into the kitchen with the sprinkler running and ask her how to turn it off. So everything's getting drenched, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And she kindly and gently walks me out and then walks back in and sees this mess and just starts laughing. Never scolded me, very patient, found the humor in it.
Yeah.
Which is definitely a direct sign of who she was.
That's so good, man. That's a good story for all of us to remember, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes is, life is 10% what happens to us, and 90% how we react to it.
You got it.
And that's a perfect embodiment of that quote of, what can you do? You ran in. You weren't trying to destroy things. You didn't have bad intentions.
Yes.
It would have maybe been unfruitful to discipline you or try to speak to you in that regard. And just to laugh, And then you set the standards and expectations, like, the sprinklers don't belong in the kitchen, especially when they're on.
My brother and I have talked about this incident a few times, because I'm still not absolutely sure if I just walked in or if he and our neighbor kind of encouraged me to go do it on a dare. I don't remember the exact circumstances. I remember the result of it. But we sometimes banter about that one a little bit.
You escaped the
That's
face
right.
of death.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
But Kyle, you hit on one thing there too.
Yeah.
The response piece, or the importance of that. There's an equation I often go to.
Yeah.
Event plus response equals outcome.
Yeah.
So if you use that equation, whatever happens to you, you control something. You control your response. And that's going to ultimately lead to where things go from there. So that's one of those mantras I keep in mind when things are relatively difficult, or you get thrown that curveball, or something tragic even happens in your life. There's something you can do, and that's your response. There's a variation of that too. That's reaction rather than response, which I don't like. I think response is more appropriate.
Yeah.
But in almost every situation, I dare say every situation, we do have some component of it we can control.
Yeah. So I wrote it down in a linear formula, but if you actually thought about it as in like an infinite circular formula, event plus response equals outcome equals event plus response, right?
It is definitely circular.
It keeps on feeding into it. So if we can get in a really vicious cycle if we are responding poorly to things that we can't control.
Yes.
Because guess what? Then at that point, we're going to start experiencing more things that we can't control. Life is going to go worse and worse and worse and worse for us because we keep on responding poorly.
Right.
The only way to get out of that game is to change the entire attitude, to change the entire mindset.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll tie that into, it's important in life that we not only, train ourselves to be good technically at whatever we do in our career, or train ourselves physically to be our very best. You have to go out of your way to train your mind too.
Yeah.
To be able to respond effectively in those scenarios.
Yeah.
And that can't be short-circuited. It can't be pushed off, or I can't be too busy for that.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the most important things you can do in life.
Yeah. Yeah,
and that's good books. Yeah. That's conversations like this. It doesn't have to be.
Yes.
It's pursuing your spiritual side.
Yeah.
All of those things factor into.
The whole person.
You got it.
Body, mind, spirit. Yeah.
You got it.
And that's so important. And it's just amazing. It seems like there's such a need of this in our day and age. And it's just kind of like part of how my mind works is I want to know why. Like let's run like the, connect the ideas because they have consequences, and let's just trace this out. Like, how do we get to where we are today?
Yes.
And why is this even a thing? Why are you even needed in companies today?
Right.
And I love the work that you're doing. I think it's so important. And in one sense, I wish it didn't exist.
Oh, me too.
Right? In an ideal world, if everyone was taking that kind of responsibility and all that kind of stuff, it wouldn't have to exist.
Yes.
But it does, somewhere along the way, we radically got off course, and where the majority of people today actually really, really, really
Yes.
need what you are doing, which is...
Well, it's part of it. I mean, we talk dreams and life goals. Again, dreams are sometimes come off, especially in a business setting, as fluffy and, come on, seriously, Mark? But if you view it as a strategic, helping someone develop a strategic plan for their life, but also giving them skills to help them train their mind to best function when things are going well or things are shit's hitting the fan. If you can train your mind accordingly, you can take on life with a whole new sense of vigor.
Well said.
Well, it is one of my main goals to give you more in use value than what I take from you in cash value. And so, man, I love that this podcast is for free. And I really hope that you are finding just incredible value. Who knows, maybe in one of these episodes, you'll take an idea that will be worth $1 million to you. And that's so awesome. If you believe in this and what we're doing here and you'd like to give, you can go to patreon.com/whatnotttodo and you can give according to your heart's desire. But seriously, every little bit helps in our mission to equip the world for success. Thank you so much.
So I'm curious. Actually, I really don't care about the best advice you've ever heard. You've already given us enough of that, which is wonderful. I'm curious, and I think our listeners are too. What's some of the worst advice that you've ever heard, or given along the way, or that you hear floating around today on the Instagram or on the Facebook or whatever it might be?
Can I give you two?
Yeah, you may.
Okay. The first one will be personal, all right? And this is at one point in my career, a guy came in from the outside, a consultant guy, and got to know me for about an hour, and then he proceeded to tell me that I was too kind and too nice. And is there some validity to that? Sure. Could I have done some things differently? But I think it was the worst advice in the world, because I think we all need to bring kindness to the table. And he definitely wasn't kind or nice, and the way he conducted himself on a daily basis was not an example that I think is appropriate either. So that one always rings in my mind. It's actually a trigger for me when I hear someone say to someone, "You're too kind or too nice." That being too kind or too nice
thank you so much
doesn't reflect on how I think people tend to say, well, that because you're so kind or nice means you avoid conflict. That's not necessarily true. It's just you handle conflict differently. And you try to angle towards making someone feel comfortable, having a difficult conversation in a very productive manner, instead of being the bull in the china shop and jumping in there and just shaking things up because we need to make a change. There's different ways of handling things, and that's one of those that's always a trigger for me when I hear someone say it to someone else. I mean, it's easy to say to the surface, in the business world, you're just too nice, or you're just too kind.
You're not going to get ahead if you're too nice, if you're too kind. And it's that idea of like competition and like a scarcity mindset where there's not enough, and so you're going to have to climb over people to get there, and if you're too nice, people are going to climb over you. Or you can have an abundance mindset and just really be about helping people be successful.
Exactly.
And knowing that that's how you're going to become successful. And kindness and being nice goes a long, long way.
It does.
Just generally.
Well, people do business with people they like too. I mean, they get along with and they have a good rapport with. So I think kindness and being nice definitely isn't a strong part within the business environment.
And sometimes people might say, well, man, you kind of come off fake. Like, why are you faking it? And maybe it's just because kindness and niceness in the workforce is too rare.
It is.
Everyone's so for themselves, every man for themselves. A knife in hand, ready to stab whoever they eat you in the back. That it's really, really rare when you come across someone who actually has their best in mind. And the other thing about that, an interesting dynamic can be that it actually maybe convicts the person who's not very nice, who's not very kind. And they realize, hey, I'm not that way. So I need to tell this person not to be that way because it makes me feel bad about myself. Rather than just saying, you know what, I want to be more like Mark. I want to have that more presence. I want to be kind. And it doesn't mean that you're afraid of conflict. It doesn't mean that you can't. You don't speak the truth when it needs to do it. You just don't. You don't have a hammer and you don't see everything as a nail.
Absolutely. And you can personify kindness without being a doormat.
For sure. Exactly.
And those things can coexist. And I think in reality, people that give that type of advice don't see it that way. They don't see the and, they see the or. But you can meld those two things together.
What I've heard is a thick skin and a tender heart. we need more thick skin, people that aren't so easily personally offended, but they have real tender hearts, right?
Exactly.
And that comes through, right? They don't take personal offense, but they just love people, that type of thing. And that's exactly, I think you embody that really, really well, and that's really good. Bad advice.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, brother.
Now, you said you had two, so what's the second?
The other one is, and this will probably, half the people are going to hate this one, I'm sure.
They're unsubscribing right now.
And you may even dislike this one, Kyle. The likes of Gary Vee and all those folks out there, there's too much glamour about the grind, in my opinion. In my humble opinion. I'm all about working hard, too, but I'm also about taking time, obviously from our discussion today, to reflect, and that is hard work too, or spending the appropriate amount of time with your family, or getting on a good family road trip and a vacation. Life is not all about the grind, and I think some of the breakthroughs come when we step away from the grind and really take the time to re-energize. So when you look at the graph that's going from lower left to upper right, and it's okay to have it jaunt down from time to time if that's what you need in order to take a deep breath and recharge your batteries before you make that next leap. I think there's just an over glamorization of just go, 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 go. And hard work is definitely important, but we all need to take a step back from time to time as well.
Yeah, and let's define hard work, right?
Right.
We say, we got to work hard. Well, so if we're not turning a wrench or pushing a broom or digging dirt, then we're not working hard, right? And I totally agree with you. I think in our day and age, with how much technology we have, we have become really, really lazy minds, and most people have a really hard time sitting quietly and thinking for more than 30 seconds.
Yes.
Which is why we turn on the radio in the car. We want to block, we just want white noise. Rather than making it a practice just to sit and think. Actually, this is kind of funny. This is actually why I enjoy the occasional cigar, or like pipe tobacco, kind of a grandpa. But part of it is just it's part of a ritual that I can just stop and think, and just practice exercise of just sitting, relaxing in a nice chair, having a cigar or pipe, and just thinking.
I love the pipe tobacco.
That
brings me back to my college days, because we would, a friend of mine had an old-fashioned pipe too, and we would sit on the porch every once in a while and pass it. Good tobacco.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, there's a cigar that's wrapped in pipe tobacco.
Yeah,
so
that's cool.
It's
the smell of that is.
But the discipline.
My grandpa had smoked the pipe too, so that brings back memories when I smell that.
Yeah. But the discipline of thinking is so lost in our day and age.
Yes.
So I actually agree with the advice, and how I wrote it, or agree that it's bad advice, and the way that I phrased it was grind or fall behind.
Yes.
Right. It's like you kind of hear that, and I agree, and I think if you hear some folks that are always doing, people don't realize that. Though they're always doing always doesn't always look like this hard work.
Yes.
Right. And there's a time to burn the midnight oil. Right. And that's
absolutely there is. We all have those times.
And that's what you're not saying. But this idea of just like life is all about the grind and grinding is life. No. And you could look at like the law of diminishing returns.
Yes.
Right. At what point are you actually losing? At what point is your quote unquote grinding costing you?
Yes.
You want to unpack that a little bit more, because it seems like you're on that.
I don't know what angle I'm going to take on this, but I think it's valuable. Let's just take a look at a week. I know, and not to be overly religious either, but taking your Sunday or your Sabbath and really taking a step back and having that be a different type of day. It doesn't mean you don't do anything, or you maybe are doing stuff around the house, but you're disengaging from the day in and day out. And believe me, I'm not the best at that. But it's one of those awareness things that, we need to take time to rest and to get away from the normal stuff, because that's where the next breakthrough happens. And it's okay to do that, where you go on social media, and it's not every voice, but some voices are, no, you got to just keep going. No, or there's my sons watch a YouTube channel, which I like the messages, but the name of it, I believe, is No Days Off. And it's about kid athletes and things like that, but shows their grind and glamorizes their grind. And even that name, No Days Off, especially when talking about a 14-year-old, is that really a healthy message to be sent? Do
you know Scotty Smith?
I don't know him personally.
I should know who he is. So he owns Synergy Sports Performance. and used to be a trainer for the Packers.
Okay.
He's episode number 2.
Okay.
But that's one thing he's actually really passionate about, is the idea of how overworked our kids are in sports. They go way too deep of a dive into specialization,
and so early,
rather than just being broad athletes and cultivating, and how it actually leads to greater injuries, more injury-prone athletes, which we actually see.
I can see that.
Part plays into that phenomenon. Like, why in the NFL? Why is everyone getting hurt?
Yes.
Like, I remember guys from like the '90s just would rock your world, and they get up, and now it's like the same thing happens. It's like, they limp off field or get carted, and I don't want to oversimplify it. It's a tough sport, but to your point, you guys probably click and would have great conversation in that regard.
Cool.
But totally agree, man. A lot of different areas in life, that kind of mindset of like, go,
right,
go, and then you work yourself into a grave.
Yeah.
So that's not all to say, like one of my mentors in life gave me, he's like, people always ask me, like, how did you become successful? And he said, well, I work half days. And you kind of like, what? Yeah, he's like, I work 6 days, Monday through Friday, or Monday through Saturday, 12 hours a day, right? Now, that 12 hours a day, it took me a little bit to get this. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yes.
That makes sense. But how do I do 12 hours a day? And do I 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.? Is that, I got to block it. It's all linear, right? Like,
right.
And, he's got, a membership at one of the nicest, private golf courses, right? He's taking clients there.
Yes.
He's golfing. He's driving here.
Yes.
He says when he goes on vacation, he only works 8-hour days, right? Work trips, all kind of stuff internationally.
Right.
And I think we think in such like a linear like box and mindset that we might not actually grasp what he means when he's saying he's working 12 hours a day and what constitutes as work.
Right. He's not staring at a spreadsheet, or he's not working creating widgets.
Right. Yeah. And it's kind of saying like, get creative and get productive, and that can look at so many things. Like, think about like taking a family road trip, right? And how and you could do things that could actually fuel the work that you do on that family road trip. Yes. And it could be a blessing to the family because it's fun and all kinds of stuff, so it doesn't feel like work. But then it also is feeding the work, or even just the idea of sheer rest, and rejuvenation, and a clear mind to come back. Because in one sense, like we were talking about before, it's all integrated. We're never like it's a whole life thing. So like we're never like quote unquote off work. But I think that's part of that kind of box and mindset that we think that way. Then we tend to think that we should just be grinding around the clock because we're thinking so linearly and so fragmented, and that it's like, well, I don't have time for anything else. I just have to work.
Right.
And there's a different way. Maybe I'm having a hard time articulating where you almost kind of, I guess, rise above or transcend that mindset and saying work is much broader than that. And there's a point at which you have to really guard the physical output, and that you are also cultivating the mind and the spirit.
And I think to build on your point, I think you start to transcend that as soon as your purpose starts to align with your quote-unquote work. It makes it all the easier. However, with that said, too, that's where you have to be even more disciplined to step away. For the good of your mental capacity and for the good of your family and everything. It's a necessity, because I think once you find your purpose and you're really fired up every day, you're fueled, right? You could do it aside from sleeping constantly. But that's not healthy in the long run. And there could be sprints where you have to do that too. And that's okay. But to recognize that you do need to take that step back, I think, is hugely important.
Yeah, for sure. Treating the whole goes back to treating the whole man. That's it. It's so interesting. And you've got like books like the 4-Hour Work Week and all that kind of stuff floating out. There's a lot that could be said about optimization.
That's what I got out of that book more than anything else. Look for ways to optimize in order to free up your time. In areas that aren't necessarily mission critical.
80-20 rule. The way that I do it is the acronym EADD. Eliminate, automate, delegate, or do.
Sure.
And a little. I think I adopted it and then made it my own from maybe that book. But can this be eliminated? No. Can it be automated? Nope. Can it be delegated? Nope. Then I'm doing it. Right. And if we just run through something through a basic filter like that, we actually can free up a lot of time. We can realize, hey, I'm at a point where it'd be worth more me paying for an automation service or to have this task automated because of what's going to gain me in time and productivity, et cetera. So many different ways to think about it.
Right.
But it does mean, getting outside and thinking outside, I guess, the box.
Yes, and rest and getting away doesn't look the same. It doesn't mean you're laying there on the beach necessarily.
How do you quantify
My wife would
that?
laugh at this conversation. She'd be like, Mark, you're such a busybody. Especially when you're working primarily from home in your home office. I'm in there a lot.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I have a hard time sitting still.
Yeah.
When I do, I fall asleep. You know what I mean? But I find relaxation, strangely enough, and reset myself when I'm doing dishes.
Yeah.
I love after dinner to kick everyone out of the kitchen and say, I want to do dishes.
Yeah.
That's a great time for me personally to rest, believe it or not, and not to be buzzwordy, but to be mindful.
Yeah.
And everyone does it in their own different way.
Yeah.
I think it's to find what works for you, but make sure you are truly taking an opportunity to check out from that, whatever your daily grind looks like.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. Yeah, I think that's something we could riff on just for hours. I think one of the ditches there is, like you said, people, when they think of like, hey, work hard, be productive, they swing into a ditch of, they look at life in a linear sense and, well, the more productive I can be, the better. So I only have 24 hours. I'm going to have to grind it all out.
Yes.
I also think that there's another ditch where, and I'm not sure which one is more common in our day and age, but it seems like people could be doing a lot more from a productive standpoint.
For sure.
Yes. And it's like, but we don't want to be a pendulum. And when we hear that advice, because what's inspiring about Gary Vee, I'm a big Grant Cardone fan.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that swift kick in the teeth that he gives you. But he says he doesn't like the word hustle.
Yeah.
And he talked about in some of his books how some of the hard work that you're doing is reading and thinking.
Yes.
I also am a Warren Buffett fan. He spends 4 to 6 hours a day reading.
Yes.
I'd be like, well, he's a billionaire. Well, he says that he's always been doing that. Right? Why is he a billionaire?
Yeah.
The discipline of the mind.
Yes.
Right. And that's so important. And so the heavy lifting isn't always the physical heavy lifting. And I think what you're getting at here is really, really important. Don't be duped by that when you hear those things. Because, Gary Vee, maybe Grant Cardone, maybe some of these guys.
And Grant, I love Gary Vee's stuff. And sometimes when he's like, you should post X amount of times, that stuff I don't buy. There's certain things I don't buy from him, but he is an inspiration in his own way as well.
Yeah, and what I was going to say was sometimes we are misunderstanding what they're saying, and we're misapplying it.
Absolutely.
That's
fair.
If we had the chance to just ask them in a Q&A, hey, is this what you mean by this? Is this what you mean by grind and work and all that kind of stuff?
It's a fantastic point, Kyle.
They might say no. I've done that in my life with various authors. Where it's like, I took it and swung it into a ditch that they probably never would have intended it to be.
Right.
That was my fault.
Yes.
I think
you're onto something there.
I think that there's part of that dynamic where people hear grind and work and they see these guys and then they say, oh, this is what this must mean. And that's maybe a mark of immaturity with not understanding first what the author or the person is actually saying in a way that they would say, yep, that's exactly what I'm saying. And then not the maturity to be able to apply that in that way. So there's both of those things. I think a lot more people need to stand to hear what Grant Cardone has to say on like, hey, we've got success is our duty. We have more obligation to be successul.
I agree with that.
In a sense, get off your ass and go do something with your life. If you want to make $100,000 this year, your goal is too small. Make $1 million this year. It's better to fall short of a big goal than a small one. Right?
Yes.
We need more of that. In a sense, that's what a lot of what you're helping to do. We also want to guard against then that pendulum swing.
Yeah, it's the counterbalance, right?
Exactly. That's saying like, oh, this is what grinding looks like, and we sacrifice everything in life and family and all that kind of stuff, and even our person, to where it's like this was a terrible idea.
Yes.
And then we resort back to like, well, let's just be easier, just to kind of be lazy. Like you can be productive, but you can optimize that productivity. You can really pull some levers on that kind of stuff, and not all the hard work is just physical. Cultivate, the body, cultivate the mind, and cultivate the spirit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, that's the beauty of the dream manager work too. Is you're helping that one side of the equation where get people more engaged, get them to take action on things. That's very important to your point, because there's a lot of people that could do a lot more with the encouragement, with the help with planning, with helping pull things out of them that are important to them. Helping their own. And that's the push. Then the other side of the coin is the other side of the equation where people are just giving her way too hard. Yeah. And it's not healthy, and you could see the train wreck that's ahead.
The wrong ways.
And usually you can pick that out a lot of times. You see it coming, but those people don't necessarily want to hear it. And that's where I see it as being somewhat bad advice that's,
Yeah.
and it might be, to your point, I thought it was beautifully said, that it's being misinterpreted as well.
Yeah.
Because it's easy when we're having a dialogue to really understand someone's perspective and their angle they're taking on it. But when it's an author or a figure out there that we're following, we don't necessarily have that luxury.
Yeah.
So what you said is a good reminder for me too to maybe take a step back and try to understand more what they're saying and where it's coming from.
Well, and half of it's like what gets put out, then people take and riff on, and then they
their own
reproduce it.
Yes,
It's like
yes.
there's so many layers that get added onto that, and so many perspectives that get shown on it. Like I remember, so Grant Cardone has one of his segments on his podcast is called Young Hustlers, and he's like, I don't even know why we call it that. I don't even like the word. I told him not to use it. Like, but it's just like it's what sells, right? Because that's what's hot right now, to hustle and to grind and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, I don't even like that word. Like, I don't hustle, But
the word busy is my trigger with that too. I try my very best to not use that word because I think it's used as a badge of honor too often.
Yeah.
And it really shouldn't be. I mean, if I have a full day, it's a full day.
Yeah.
I'm busy. As soon as you're busy, you know what that leads to? You giving yourself permission to be efficient with people.
Yeah.
Because I'm so flippin' busy. Don't wear busy as a badge of honor, folks.
Here, I'm too busy for you.
Right.
How's that going? Oh, I'm super busy.
Yeah.
Oh, then I better stop talking to you.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting. Man. Yeah, really good.
Well, I'm really excited to share with you that What Not to Do has been gaining traction and momentum and experiencing some early wins, which is super exciting, and reminded me this show is about you, it's for you, and I couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much. If you're part of a company, if you own a company, and you think your message would be really, really relevant and valuable to the folks that are part of this community, entrepreneurs, leaders, public figures, and those aspiring as such, reach out to me. My contact info is in the show notes, and we can sit down and consider what it would look like to partner together in equipping the world for success.
All right, Mark, so it's rush hour in every major city in the world. Green Bay, Wisconsin, to Beijing, to you name it. And,
our traffic is crazy, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's just crazy. It's pretty much like New York. And billions of people stuck in a traffic jam. They're listening to What Not to Do with Mark Cumicek. And once you know it, they look up and they see a billboard, and it's Mark's billboard. How ironic. What message do they see? What message, Mark, do you want the world to see?
Your future is greater than your past. So envision your future and the greater than sign from mathematics than your past. Future is bigger than your past, whatever way you want to put it. I truly think that mindset, if you can get it right, changes everything. So when you think about it, everyone who has a mindset like that, I'm going to say everyone, tends to be moving forward. And they tend to be the most engaged people. They tend to be the most effective. They tend to be the people that come up with the cure for cancer or the next invention, or they're negotiating the world peace, if you will. The people that believe they personally and the world as a whole has a brighter future than the past are the people that are going to drive us forward. As soon as you remove that and you believe your best days are behind you, that my time in high school was where I peaked and there's nothing left to dream about, then you know what starts creeping in? Self-doubt, lack of hope. You become disengaged at work. The people that are disengaged in work don't believe there's a future for them that's greater than their past. So you got to get that equation right in your mind. That would be my billboard. And actually, it's kind of funny how it played out, because in my company, Onward, I've got a little arrow at the end of my logo that's pointing forward, and that was the intent of it. But over time, I'm like, it's actually a greater sign, too. That your future is greater than your past. And that happened accidentally, but I'm like, it works out well. And
onward is greater than backward.
Exactly.
Or the alternate. That's a good... heard it recently said that, and it might have been in the form of some of the worst advice, but being told, hey, you've reached your capacity. You've hit your ceiling.
Yes.
Right? And, life isn't over till it's over. Mm-hmm. And as long as we can fog a mirror,
yes, right,
we have the capacity to continue to cultivate what we've been given, the skills, talents, abilities, to use them in service for others and to impact the world for something greater than ourselves. It's not over till it's over.
Right.
How we do that might change. It might look different, right? As we grow in age and have different opportunities and whatever it might be.
Yes, sir.
Man, it's not over till it's over. So I love that. I think people need to hear that message wherever they might be. And maybe they feel stuck in their career. Maybe they just entered retirement. It's like, well, I guess it's downhill from here, right?
Yes.
How often is that what we hear? It's not. It's all uphill, baby. Right.
But you have to be intentional about it too.
Further up and further in.
You got to understand where you want to go. If you don't know where you're going, you're lost.
Yeah.
So unless you develop that, whether you call it a dream plan or a personal strategic plan or whatever it ends up being, that sets you in motion to move towards something.
Yeah.
Without it in place, you're going through the motions, and a lot of times it does creep into. Well, when I was 30 and on top of my game, and I was running marathons, and I was doing great in a career. Those were my best days.
Yeah.
Well, really?
Yeah.
You can do more.
Let's flip a minute. Yeah, like when it's all downhill from here. No. Life is a journey of going from sea level to the apex, to the top of the mountain.
Yes.
And it's constantly a process of further up and further in. This is actually one of the great pictures in C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia.
Yes.
I think it's the last battle where they end up in I guess what would be the analogy for heaven or whatever it might be. The Narnia, inside the Narnia, or if that's how the phrase, if I remember, and it's this idea of like, now that they're there, it's this eternity of going further up and further into the Narnia behind the Narnia, or the Narnia inside the Narnia.
Right.
And that's just amazing to me. It's like, we need to think of like, it's only further up and further in.
Yes.
Exactly what you said, onward. And that we're not going backwards, not regressing, but we're ascending.
Right.
And all of life is like that.
Yes.
And in fact, all of eternity, right? So I love that. I love that advice, man.
Well, where you are in life, there's always something you can. Maybe you're not as physically strong. You can't do things more from an adventure perspective. But think what you can do intellectually, or think how you can coach people and help the next generation get better. There were guys when I went to get certified as a dream manager in my class. There was a group of 12 of us. There was 2 individuals in there that were in their mid-70s, and they were becoming certified to be dream managers because they saw their future as bigger than their past, and they wanted to pay it forward and get the next generation in a spot where they could take on what's ahead of them in their lives, which is so cool. That was inspiring to me too. I'm like, that further enthralled me and galvanized this being my purpose, because I'm like, I could totally see myself doing that when I'm their age as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And you've had the success, and now you're reproducing that in others.
Yes.
So moving from success to significance to a greater impact.
Yeah. Right. And you'd kind of hit on it too. It's meet people where they are from a spiritual component, a religion component too. But personally, it helps me just to have that grounding too, to know that it's not just about this life, that there's something even better ahead. And that helps me propel forward as well too. So there's a lot to accomplish and a lot of good stuff ahead in this life as well, but beyond there's something too.
Yeah, it only gets better. And if we zoom in various points of life, of our lives, or maybe in history, it seems like there's like a down spike here.
Yes.
But it's kind of like the stock market. If you zoom out,
absolutely,
you see this trend upwards.
Yeah, the trend line. You gotta watch the trend line.
But if you zoom in, you might see some spikes and some trends. That's just human. That's just life, right?
Yes.
And so we don't want to lose the forest for the trees. Sometimes we spend our lives too zoomed in on one thing. Maybe it was in the past on this down spike. And guess what? Then our stock starts to fall, right?
Yes.
But to keep an idea like, hey, when we zoom out, we see that big picture. Wow, look how far I've come.
Right.
Look at how further up we've come. Look at how further in we've come.
Yes.
Right? And I think history is like that too, where people think like they have such a pessimistic view of the world and where we're headed and all that kind of stuff. And I think if they just zoomed out, you see cycles in history. It's like actually, we're whining about how bad things are while we're sipping our lattes and recording on an iPhone with the basically.
It's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is so terrible.
Right.
And it's just like, are you kidding me? Like, look at how the world has been cultivated and transformed and glorified in so many wonderful ways.
There's just a different set of challenges, right? There's a different set of challenges, and you just got to recognize that too. But there's also a world of different opportunities that weren't there 50 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all the more, which is super exciting. All right, man, bonus round.
Oh, boy.
3 books that people need on their bookshelves and that they need to read sooner.
Well, I hit on one already, which I'm a big fan of. And this is more just one of those books that you read a chapter a day on, and that is Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. It's all the small stuff by Richard Carlson. And that book particularly has power after you read it, and then you realize that Richard died way too early in his 40s. I think it was an aneurysm on a plane trip or something like that. So everything he preaches of, really bringing your best version and not getting too worked up and all that stuff kind of elevates itself when you realize that, unfortunately, he checked out earlier than his prime. He had a lot left to do in his life and a lot of good messages to share. But that book definitely had a tremendous impact on me. That book, in turn, introduced me to Dr. Wayne Dyer, who has a number of different books. I can't give you necessarily a book of his to read.
Does he have like a best-known book?
I should know the titles of these. Most of them I listen to as audiobooks.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of it. It's on the tip of my tongue, Kyle. I can't think of it right now. Man. I'm struggling here. I'm drawing a blank, but it's this close. If you change the way you look at things you look at change is the center of it. Change your mind, change your life.
Is that what it is?
It's something to that effect.
I'll look it up. We'll get it there and get people on the Dr. Wayne Dyer trip.
Dr. Wayne Dyer. Again, another guy that had a tremendous impact on just my outlook on life in general. And then, it's so hard to choose, isn't it? I've got okay, let's go with QBQ, Question Behind the Question.
Oh, okay.
By John G. Miller. Another simple read. But it's one of those that really helps you understand the power of personal accountability. You heard of that one?
Just recently. Someone else had recommended it.
Okay.
So, yeah, again, this is all self.
Was it Jordan? Was it Jordan by any chance?
Actually, it might have been.
Yeah.
It might have been. Yeah.
That's how Jordan and I got to know each other, actually, because he shared it as a book review on LinkedIn. And then I saw that there was a comment on there from someone I knew that I gave that book to that recommended it to him. So it's funny how that all works. But
that's awesome.
That's a powerful book.
Hey, and that's actually a fun example, too. It's like the power of words. You recommended a book to someone else.
Yes.
I recommended someone else, and I connect with that someone else.
Yes.
Is that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
We sometimes we see the fruit of our labors. In this case, like that's really cool. Like you recommend something that, and then you see this chain reaction of impact.
Yes.
And even whoever recommended that book to you, right?
Yes.
And it's really, really cool. So sometimes we see that, sometimes we don't. But man, share the knowledge, share the things that have impacted you.
Yes.
You can't take accountability or responsibility for what people do with it.
Yes.
But you can plant the seed.
My coach, my personal coach, always is asking me what I'm reading and always preaching to me that books change your life.
Hold on, wait. So a coach has a coach?
No, of course I do.
Talk to me about
I've got a dream manager, a dream manager that works with me, and I do the same thing I'm doing with other people.
Yeah.
I'm going through that same process. So I'm not just telling people what to do, I'm actually applying it in my life as well.
Yeah.
He holds me accountable. We have calls every month, and he's been a fantastic man to work with, and
awesome.
feel very blessed. But he's always wants to know, am I developing intellectually, right? That's one of the 4 components we talk about all the time is physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual.
Yeah.
How are we doing in each of those areas? And he will challenge me on what I'm reading, too.
Yeah.
Making sure you're feeding yourself good information that helps you grow, but also helps you train your mind, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
I got one more, kind of a 4th book.
Dude,
I have to talk about The Dream Manager, though, too.
Yeah, do it.
And that's a book that shaped my life, too. Matthew Kelly, another author I just completely fell in love with. He is my favorite author by far.
You mentioned it earlier, too, in the episode.
He's phenomenal. And actually, I have to thank my dad for turning me on to him because my dad, this is Easter Sunday years ago, we're about to break up for Easter dinner or lunch or whatever it might end up being. We're at my brother's house, I think. And he's like, wait, before you go, I got books for all of you. Or I've got something in my trunk for all of you. I didn't even say books. And he came out and he gave us each book. And I said, no, thanks, Dad, and went on our way. The book went on my nightstand and sat there for months. And I picked it up, thumbed through it, set it back down. Yeah. Another 2 months go by. You read kind of the foreword and you read the back cover, and you're like, I should probably read this, and you set it back down. And then finally I read it, and I went back to my old man and I was like, Dad. I was all excited. I'm like, I finally read that book and I loved it. I not only loved the book, but I loved the author and the way he went about presenting things. And my dad looked at me confused, had no idea what I was talking about. And I tried to explain it to him. I'm like, Easter Sunday gave this to you. And he's like, oh, I never read that thing. They were just giving them away free at church. So I gave one to each of you, which I joke with him about right now.
Isn't that amazing?
But it introduced me to Matthew Kelly as an author. And actually, it's this book here, Resisting Happiness, which was where my journey started. And that led me to The Dream Manager a few years down the line.
Well, I'll link all that. I give 3 books just because it's easy. Sometimes people have a hard time thinking of books, but you can give me 10 and I'll link them all. So.
Yes. I'll give you one more that I'm deep into right now.
Resisting Happiness?
This one's Resisting Happiness, yes.
Cool.
That's more of a spiritual work. Yeah. And this is the Dream Manager, definitely more of a business consulting, or not consulting, but a good business leadership type read.
Cool. All right, what are you deep into now?
I'm into, one is, gosh, I'm blanking on this one now too. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Okay. It's pretty deep. It's about his time in World War II concentration camps and the power of the mind to find purpose and meaning in some of the worst possible conditions you can ever imagine. Yeah. So that's one. I haven't finished it yet, so I couldn't put it in my top 3 yet, but will probably find its way there. I'm just not sure which one will bump out.
Yeah, I can admit it's good to get outside of ourselves.
Yes.
And other experiences and realize, hey, maybe my life, maybe some of my hardships, even though they are real hardships, maybe they're not qualitatively as bad as what other people experienced.
Yes.
And be able to learn from other people's experiences and just be thankful for what we have in life. There are probably a few people listening to this who've experienced some kind of concentration camp or something like that, and not to say people haven't experienced real hardships, right? Yeah. Not dismissing that by any stretch of imagination, but it's just good to get out of our own stories, our own lives, and get perspective and learn from other folks. So that's awesome.
Now let's throw one more since we have a minute here. The other one I'm into right now, and it's a very short one. Yeah. It's the flywheel effect or something like that.
Yes.
The Good to Great spin-off, just a little workbook thing, which is a fantastic concept for anyone in a business setting to really figure out what their flywheel is. And that's I'm actively trying to figure out what my flywheel is. And that's just a great guidebook.
Yeah, that's it is kind of the heart and soul of that book, Good to Great. And so if you wanted a Cliff Notes version or like the main takeaway from Good to Great, the flywheel effect is awesome. He also has one about Good to Great, like in the social sectors. Yes. So if you're running a nonprofit, that type of stuff, that's super good. I'm a huge fan of Jim Collins' work, and that the concept of the flywheel effect, it's the same principle as compounding interest.
Yes,
it's the same principle in that regard.
It's a great way of putting it.
And he's got some really good, helpful thoughts. Probably what you're thinking of, where the different capacities of kind of almost in a sense, what do you enjoy, what are you good at, and where can you make money? I'm kind of just paraphrasing the 3 categories, but finding that sweet spot.
You got it.
Building out the right habits to take, and then you start pushing that flywheel. And it's heavy and it's slow at first, but you don't stop. And you're consistent in it, and you do that over a long period of time. And pretty soon, it's just more and more momentum.
You got
momentum. So pretty soon, it's just taking off and spinning itself. Yeah. And then it's an amazing concept. And when you get the right people, on the bus in the right seats, it creates that's a efficient process, right?
Right.
Being efficient with people.
Exactly.
And everyone's pushing together. It's just amazing leverage.
It's such a simple framework and model to work off of, too, which I always love. I love having frameworks. I love having models. What makes them the most powerful is when they're simple to apply and think through. That doesn't mean getting to your final solution simple, but it's presenting a way to think about it and to ultimately craft it, which may take some time. But that's what I love about it.
For sure. And it's and the thing is, it's like you could use that for personal goals. You could use that for your personal life.
You got it.
Not just an organization. Yeah. And for those of you, if you're not familiar with Good to Great, I mean, he traced companies over a 20-year period, peer companies, so some that just bombed,
Yes.
And others that, against all odds, economically, just crushed it. And he said, these companies that crushed it, how did they do that? Especially against odds when their peer companies totally tanked. And the flywheel effect is at the heart of that. So highly recommend it. An easy read. What 60, 70 pages?
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
And I'm the world's slowest reader, too, so I can digest it.
Get it
you
on
all can, too.
or whatever it is, yeah. So.
Well, it's funny you hit on that, though, too, the personal aspect of it, too.
Yeah.
Because my mind's been going there, too. Okay, this dream manager concept, how do I potentially incorporate the flywheel methodology and model? And there's something there.
Yeah.
Because once you've reached that first dream, there's a certain cycle you go through to get yourself there.
Yes.
Now, how do you replicate that for the next one and the next one and the next? And you build that momentum.
Yes. Yeah. Oh man, that's it.
Oh, it's fun.
We can double click on that for a couple.
Yeah, that's
hours.
right. It's still killing me, by the way, that I can't think of that Wayne Dyer book.
Well, I figured out.
Wayne Dyer, people just need to go consume his content more than anything else. He's got a lot of great stuff.
I'll try
out
to
there.
find his. I don't know, a book that's well known by him. Link to it, and they'll get people on trail.
Excellent.
And they can kind of go from there. So. Mark, this has been awesome, man.
I agree, Kyle.
Love
Thank
this
you, man.
conversation. Yeah, I've been really helped by it. My guess, I'm going to roll the dice and say there's probably a lot of folks that have been really helped by this. If they wanted to reach out to you, just pick your brain, have coffee with you, maybe hire you as a coach. Where can they find you? How can they hook up with you?
OnwardDream.com. No space or anything, or dash or anything in there. OnwardDream.com or Mark C at OnwardDream.com. From an email perspective, or just LinkedIn's probably easiest.
Yeah,
Any of those methods.
it'll get you to Mark.
That's right.
Which is awesome. Man, I think you're doing some awesome work. Keep on.
Thanks,
onward.
brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show.
Awesome.
Man, what a life-giving conversation with Mark. He just overflows with joy and happiness. It's such a great guy to be around. Love the energy. So let's recap. Here's what he told us not to do, and he gave us quite a bit. First, don't be efficient with people. Don't be efficient with people. He said instead, be efficient with processes, but inefficient with people. The reality is if we treat people quantitatively, we are necessarily, in so many ways, going to get it wrong qualitatively, right? We just want to treat them like a process, something to get in, something to get out, and we end up not being a human with them. We end up not being a person with them, right? People are not efficient, and nor should we treat them as such, right? We should take the time to be with them, to engage with them, and that's necessarily inefficient, but it yields the best return on investment possible. So don't be efficient with people. Be efficient with your processes. Secondly, don't discount learning how to lead. Don't discount learning how to lead, even if you've had leadership positions, right? Or you're a natural born leader, or whatever it might be, whatever your mama told you. Don't discount learning how to lead, and this applies to anything in life, any realm of expertise that we might have. We can't ever be satisfied or stop cultivating that gift, cultivating that area of knowledge. Let's ever, as long as we're fogging a mirror, let's seek to grow that and expand that. That's huge. So don't discount learning how to lead. Third, don't ignore the inner voice. Don't ignore the inner voice. Simon Sinek again talks about this as the limbic brain, right? And we think of it as our gut. We get that gut feeling, I just don't know. And our cortex, which is the rational, logical part of our brain, wrapped around the limbic, is like, you can't make sense of it, so you shouldn't do it. Well, sometimes you can't put your finger on it, but you can't fully rule out that gut feeling. It's a feature, not a bug. It's a design feature, not a bug, so don't ignore it. A few other things he told us to do here, free of charge, bonus don't do's. He said, don't cherish grudges. Don't cherish grudges. I love that word. Another way to think about it is like, don't nourish them or cultivate them, like as if they were in a garden of grudges, right? Don't cultivate those are weeds. Pick them up, get them out of there. Don't cherish them. Don't nurture them. Don't prize them. Don't help them to grow, right? And next, don't be two different people. Don't be two different people. If you are acting one way at work, a different way at home, or whatever sphere of life it might be, you probably have some things that you need to smooth out there, right? Is it fear of other people's opinion and what they're going to think or what they expect of you? And so you're just kind of playing the chameleon and kind of shifting here and there, not really being true to who you are and living out your values in every sphere of life. So don't do that. Don't be two different people. Find ways where who you are, personally, professionally, you can be that same person everywhere. Have that kind of confidence and a sense of satisfaction and contentment that you can be who you are wherever you are. Well, this has been awesome. Man, I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. This podcast is about you. It's for you, and I couldn't do it without you. I shared my goal earlier about wanting to inspire 1 billion people to live a legacy worth leaving. I love, Mark's doing that in his line of work, which is so cool. If you are there and you're thinking, hey, like I need help, like I would love someone to continue to push me to be, to reach my greatest potential, to be that source of life-giving accountability, a sounding board here, and to help me, cast a vision of something greater than I ever thought possible. Mark would be a great guy. Get in touch with him. His notes are in the contact information's in the show notes, and that'd be great. And be part of that mission to inspire 1 billion people to live a legacy worth leaving. And you know my why. It's to use my presence and my pros, just like I'm doing now, to inspire you to go all in on you so that you live a legacy worth leaving. Again, to use my presence and my pros to inspire you to go all in on you so that you live a legacy worth leaving. I so mean that. Like, this is why I get up in the morning. This is why I do the podcast. And this is what I love about it. I hope you guys are inspired to take action, to really consciously, thoughtfully, intentionally choose to construct your legacy and live that out today. Well, if you found this podcast or any of the episodes helpful, share them with a friend. A great way you can continue to create awareness here is to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen, and write a thoughtful one. That would mean a lot to me, and only if you think it deserves it. Be honest, be thoughtful, that'd be great. And share it with some friends. Share it with your network. Share it with folks that you think would be helpful. If you know someone who should be on the podcast, who would enjoy sitting down and sharing their story and some of their failures to help others, let me know. Send them my way. Let's connect. Maybe that's you. Maybe you need to be on the podcast, right? Maybe you're an entrepreneur, leader, or public figure that has had success, but you've also had failures, and you want to share those to help other people so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel, because God knows they're going to have plenty of their own mistakes, and you can be a part of that process and helping to equip them for success, which is just so rewarding. If you're a company and you're saying, like, you know what? I love this community. I love this interaction. I love the problems that are being solved here. I love the connection that's happening. I think our product, service, message would be so valuable and it would really align. Hey, reach out to me. I want to sit down with you and kind of think together, dream together what a partnership would look like and how we can together equip the world for success and inspire 1 billion people. 1 billion with a B, right? 1 billion people to live a legacy worth leaving. Well, it's been said that good men learn from their own mistakes, but great men, they learn from the mistakes of others. So go and be great, and we'll see you next time.